Hey everyone, welcome back to Cross Naruto. Today we're diving into an amazing story called What If Naruto Was the Infinite Dragon's Master. The god Ophis bowed before Naruto x Ophis x Kuroka, High School DxD. If you love these stories, please hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps us bring more content to you. Without further ado, let's begin. Chapter 1, Dimensional Displacement. The space between worlds tore open like wet paper. Naruto Uzumaki tumbled through, his orange and black outfit singed from battle, chakra still crackling around his body. 1 second he'd been facing Kaguya, launching his final attack alongside Sasuke, and the next, what the hell? Naruto crashed into asphalt, rolling to absorb the impact. His ninja instincts kicked in immediately as he sprang to his feet, kunai drawn. This wasn't the battlefield he'd just left. Tall buildings stretched toward an unfamiliar night sky. Streetlights cast yellow pools on empty sidewalks. No Sakura. No Kakashi. No Sasuke. Just an eerie silence broken only by the distant wail of what sounded like some kind of siren. Where am I? Naruto's voice echoed between the buildings. The air felt different, heavier with an energy that wasn't quite chakra but somehow familiar. A scream pierced the night. Naruto's head snapped toward the sound. He didn't know where he was or how he got here, but someone needed help. That was all that mattered. He channeled chakra to his feet and leaped to the nearest rooftop, racing toward the disturbance. 3 blocks later, he found the source. In an abandoned construction site, a group of grotesque creatures surrounded a terrified teenage couple. The monsters looked like something out of Orochimaru's worst experiments, misshapen bodies, extra limbs, and mouths filled with needle-like teeth. Get away from them, you freaks! Naruto shouted, not bothering with stealth. He formed a familiar hand sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 20 perfect copies of Naruto appeared in puffs of smoke, surrounding the creatures. The monsters turned, momentarily forgetting their prey. Run! Naruto yelled to the couple, who didn't need to be told twice. They scrambled away as the nearest creature lunged at a clone. What the hell are these things? A clone asked, dodging claws that tore through concrete like butter. Doesn't matter, the original Naruto replied, they're going down. The creatures moved faster than expected, their bodies twisting unnaturally. One clone popped as massive jaws clamped around its torso. Another went down under razor-sharp claws. Naruto quickly assessed the situation. These aren't human, he muttered. Whatever they are, they're strong. He formed another hand sign, and a swirling ball of energy formed in his palm. Rasengan. Naruto drove the spinning chakra sphere into the chest of the nearest monster. It shrieked, a sound that no human throat could make, and exploded into black dust. That's more like it. Naruto grinned, the thrill of battle pushing aside his confusion. His clones followed suit, engaging the remaining creatures with renewed confidence. From the shadows of a half-constructed building, a figure watched with interest. Black hair framed a face with golden eyes that seemed to glow in the darkness. A human using energy like that? Impossible, Kuroka whispered to herself, her twin black tail swishing behind her with curiosity. That's not devil power or senjutsu, but it feels so alive. Naruto and his clones made short work of the monsters. The last one dissolved into dust as a Rasengan tore through its center. The clones disappeared in puffs of smoke, leaving Naruto alone in the construction site. That was weird, he said, brushing dust from his hands. Those weren't summoned creatures, and definitely not reanimations. He looked around. And where the hell am I? You're in my territory, a voice said from behind him. Naruto spun, kunai raised defensively. A young woman with long black hair stood there. She wore a black kimono that hung open to reveal a generous figure, and, were those cat ears on her head? 2 black tails swayed lazily behind her. Who are you? Naruto demanded, not lowering his weapon. The woman smiled, revealing slightly pointed canines. I should be asking you that, Naya. Humans don't usually have that kind of power. She took a step closer, sniffing the air. And you smell delicious. So much life force. Naruto kept his stance defensive but relaxed slightly. This woman, cat person, didn't feel like an immediate threat, despite her predatory gaze. Name's Naruto Uzumaki, he said. And I'm not exactly from around here. Those monsters, what were they? Stray devils, the woman replied, circling him like a curious cat. Low-level ones at that. I'm Kuroka, by the way. She reached out as if to touch him, but Naruto stepped back. My, cautious, aren't we? Smart boy. Devils? Like, actual devils? Naruto frowned. Look, I need answers. Where am I? How did I get here? And why do you have cat ears? Kuroka laughed, the sound musical and slightly mocking. So many questions. I'm a Nekashu, obviously. She flicked one of her ears. As for where you are, you're in Japan. Though I'm more interested in what you are. That energy you used wasn't magic or demonic power. It's chakra, Naruto replied automatically. Everyone uses it where I'm from. And where exactly is that? Kuroka purred, moving closer again. Before Naruto could answer, the air between them distorted. A small figure stepped out of what seemed like a tear in reality itself. A girl with short black hair wearing a gothic Lolita dress stood before them, her blank eyes fixed on Naruto. You, the girl said in a monotone voice. You have the power of infinity within you. Kuroka immediately tensed. Ophis, she whispered, taking a step back. What are you doing here? Naruto looked between them, sensing the sudden change in atmosphere. This small girl had appeared out of nowhere, yet Kuroka, who'd been confidently flirtatious moments ago, now showed clear caution. Who's Ophis? Naruto asked, not taking his eyes off the newcomer. The infinite dragon god, Kuroka replied quietly. One of the strongest beings in existence. Ophis continued to stare at Naruto, her expression unchanging. Your energy. It reminds me of home. Of the gap. Look, Naruto said, trying to make sense of the situation, I don't know what's going on. 1 minute I was fighting in a war, the next I'm here dealing with devils and cat women and now dragon gods. I just need to get back to my friends. You cannot go back, Ophis stated flatly. The dimensional barriers have been sealed behind you. What does that mean? Naruto demanded, frustration building. Their conversation was interrupted by a flash of light from above. Several figures descended from the sky, wings spread behind them, actual wings, some feathered, some like those of bats. Well, said a man with black feathered wings, landing gracefully at the front of the group. We felt an unusual power surge and come to investigate, only to find the infamous Kuroka and even Ophis herself. What an interesting night. The newcomers, 5 in total, spread out in a semicircle. Their leader, a tall man with long dark hair, wore an expensive-looking suit that contrasted with his menacing black wings. Fallen angels, Kuroka hissed under her breath to Naruto. And not the friendly kind. Are there friendly kinds of fallen angels? Naruto muttered back. Rarely. The leader stepped forward. I am Kalanis, and I represent Lord Kokabeel's interests in this region. Whatever powerful artifact or weapon you found here belongs under proper supervision. His eyes narrowed at Naruto. Especially if it's powerful enough to draw Ophis's attention. I'm not an it, Naruto growled. And I don't belong to anyone. Kalanis laughed. A human? That power we sense came from you. He looked at his companions. Even more interesting. We should take him for study. You will not, Ophis said, her quiet voice somehow filling the entire construction site. He carries the essence of the dimensional gap within him. He is under my protection. Under your protection? Kalanis raised an eyebrow. Since when does the Ouroboros dragon protect humans? Kuroka looked equally surprised, her golden eyes darting between Naruto and Ophis. Not just protection, Ophis continued, her gaze never leaving Naruto. He is my master. A shocked silence fell over the sight. Master? Kalanis spluttered. The infinite dragon god has no master. Even Naruto stared at Ophis in confusion. What are you talking about? We just met. Your energy, Ophis explained. It contains the power of creation and destruction in perfect balance. Like the gap. I can sense it. She reached out and touched Naruto's arm. You can help me defeat Great Red and reclaim my home. This is absurd, Kalanis said, light spears forming in his hands. Whatever trick you're playing, it ends now. That human comes with us. I'm not going anywhere with you, Naruto said, falling into a fighting stance. Then we'll take you by force, Kalanis replied, signaling his companions to spread out. Kuroka moved to Naruto's side, surprising him. Normally I'd avoid a fight with fallen angels, but this is too interesting to miss. Her hands began to glow with dark energy. Besides, they've been hunting me for months. The first fallen angel attacked, throwing a spear of light directly at Naruto's chest. He dodged it easily, the spear embedding itself in concrete where he'd stood a moment before. That all you got? Naruto taunted, forming the cross-hand seal. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A dozen Narutos appeared, charging the fallen angels from different directions. Kalanis and his group faltered momentarily at the unexpected technique. Impossible, one of them muttered. A human creating solid duplicates without a sacred gear. Kuroka used their distraction to launch her own attack, dark energy crackling between her fingers as she unleashed a wave of destructive power toward two fallen angels. They erected barriers of light that barely held against her assault. Ophis simply stood watching, making no move to join the battle. A little help here? Naruto called to her as he dodged another light spear. I wish to see what my master can do, Ophis replied calmly. I'm not your, Naruto began, but had to duck as Kalanis swept down, sword of light slashing where his head had been. Fine, have it your way. Naruto's clones engaged 3 of the fallen angels while he and the original faced Kalanis and his lieutenant. Kuroka danced between attacks, her movements fluid and cat-like as she unleashed devastating senjutsu strikes. You fight well for a human, Kalanis admitted as Naruto parried his light sword with a kunai reinforced with wind chakra. But you're outmatched. Heard that before, Naruto grinned, his eyes flashing red as he tapped into the Ninetales chakra. Usually right before I win. Orange energy began to envelope Naruto's body, forming a glowing shroud. His whisker marks deepened, his canines lengthened, and his eyes transformed into slitted red orbs. The chakra around him took the rough shape of a fox, complete with swishing tails. Both Kalanis and Kuroka stared in shock. What are you? Kalanis demanded, taking a step back. Told you, Naruto replied, his voice deeper and rougher through the Ninetales transformation, I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm gonna kick your ass. With speed that left afterimages, Naruto launched himself at Kalanis. The fallen angel raised his light sword, but Naruto's chakra-enhanced punch shattered it like glass. The follow-up kick sent Kalanis flying into a steel beam, denting it with the impact. Meanwhile, Kuroka had dispatched one fallen angel and was wearing down another. Her senjutsu blasts left craters in the ground, and her agility made her nearly impossible to hit. The tide of battle had clearly turned, and Kalanis knew it. He staggered to his feet, blood trickling from his mouth. Retreat, he called to his remaining forces. We need reinforcements. The fallen angels took to the air, but Naruto wasn't finished. He extended a chakra arm, grabbing Kalanis by the ankle before he could escape. Not so fast, Naruto growled, pulling the fallen angel back down. We're not done talking. He slammed Kalanis into the ground, pinning him with a knee to the chest as the Ninetales chakra receded, leaving just his normal appearance except for still red eyes. "Now," Naruto said, "you're going to tell me everything you know about this world, dimensions, and how I can get back to mine." Calanus glared up at him. "You've made a powerful enemy today." "Lord Kokabeel your lord will do nothing," interrupted a new voice. A crimson magic circle appeared nearby, and from it stepped a man with long red hair and a noble bearing. He wore an elaborate outfit that screamed authority, and power radiated from him in waves. "Sirs Lucifer," Kuroka whispered, immediately stepping back into a defensive position. "One of the four great Satans," Calanus added, fear evident in his voice. Sirs surveyed the battlefield, the unconscious fallen angels, the craters from Kuroka's attacks, the dented steel beams, and finally, Naruto pinning Calanus to the ground. "When I sensed Ophis's power signature in my territory alongside unfamiliar energy, I expected trouble," Sirs said calmly. His gaze fell on Naruto. "I did not expect a human to be at the center of it." Naruto released Calanus, who scrambled away, and stood to face the newcomer. "Are you another enemy?" "That depends entirely on you," Sirs replied with a slight smile. "Ophis, would you care to explain why you're here? It's unusual for you to involve yourself in these matters." All eyes turned to the small girl, who hadn't moved during the entire battle. She pointed at Naruto. "He carries the power of infinity within him. The essence of the gap flows through his chakra network alongside another powerful entity." She took a step toward Naruto. "He will help me defeat Great Red." "Will I now?" Naruto asked, raising an eyebrow. "As my master, yes," Ophis stated as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Sirs eyes widened fractionally, the only indication of his shock. "Master?" "Ophis, you've never acknowledged anyone as your superior." "I do now," she said simply. Kuroka moved closer to Naruto, studying him with new interest. "First you show up with strange powers, then you fight off fallen angels, and now the infinite dragon god claims you as her master. You're just full of surprises, aren't you?" "Look," Naruto said, running a hand through his spiky blonde hair in frustration, "I appreciate that everyone finds me so interesting, but I need answers. How did I get here? How do I get back? And why does she," he pointed at Ophis, "keep calling me her master?" Sirs considered him for a moment. "Those are excellent questions, and ones I'd like answers to as well. Perhaps we should continue this conversation somewhere more private." He gestured to the destruction around them. "Before more unwanted attention arrives." "I don't need privacy," Ophis said. "I have found my master, and that is all that matters." "Ophis," Sirs said carefully, "if this human truly carries power similar to the dimensional gap, wouldn't it be wise to protect him from those who might exploit that power? Such as the Cows Brigade?" Something flickered in Ophis's otherwise expressionless face. "Yes. Protection is necessary." She turned to Naruto. "Come. I will take you to a safe place." "Hold on," Naruto said, holding up his hands. "I'm not going anywhere until someone explains what's happening. Starting with the basics, where am I, exactly?" "You are in the human world," Sirs explained patiently, "specifically Japan. But this world contains more than just humans. Devils, like myself, fallen angels, like those you just fought, angels, and various other supernatural beings exist alongside humanity, mostly hidden from their view. And cat people," Naruto added, glancing at Kuroka. "Nekashu," she corrected with a smirk. "A rare type of Nikomata. And very powerful, if I do say so myself. As for how you arrived here," Sirs continued, "that's less clear. Dimensional travel is extremely rare and usually requires powerful artifacts or specific sacred gears. I was fighting someone, a very powerful enemy, and then suddenly I was here," Naruto explained. "It felt like I was pulled through space itself." Ophis stepped closer. "The energy of your battle likely created a rift that connected to the dimensional gap." Great Red may have noticed and pushed you through to this world out of curiosity, or boredom. Great Red? The one you want to defeat? Naruto asked. Ophis nodded. The Apocalypse Dragon. He took my home. This is fascinating, Surzek said, but perhaps not the best location for such a discussion. He looked meaningfully at Kalanis, who was still hovering nearby with his remaining forces. Fallen Angel, I suggest you return to your master and explain that this human is under the protection of both Ophis and myself. Any action against him will be considered an act of war. Kalanis paled visibly. Understood, Lord Lucifer. He and his companions vanished into the night sky. Now, Surzek turned back to Naruto. I have a residence nearby where we can talk more freely. I invite all of you to join me. His eyes lingered on Kuroka. Even you, SS-class stray devil. A temporary truce, for the sake of understanding this situation. Kuroka's ears flattened slightly. How generous of you, Satan. But I think I'll pass on entering the lion's den willingly. Your choice, Surzek said with a nod. Naruto? Ophis? Naruto looked at Ophis, who simply stared back, waiting for his decision. It was strange having this apparently immensely powerful being deferring to him. Fine, Naruto said finally. I'll come with you. But just to talk. Of course, Surzek agreed. As they prepared to leave, Kuroka suddenly stepped forward. Actually, I think I will come along. This is too interesting to miss. She smiled at Naruto. Besides, someone needs to make sure you don't get tricked by devil politics. And that someone is a devil herself? Naruto asked skeptically. A stray devil, she corrected. Big difference, Naya. Surzek created another magic circle beneath their feet. Shall we? As the circle began to glow brighter, Naruto felt the strange magic wash over him. Before the teleportation completed, he glanced at Ophis, who continued to watch him with those unblinking eyes. Why me? He asked her quietly. What makes you think I'm your master? You carry infinity within you, she replied simply. And you are strong enough to use it. The magic circle flared, and the construction site vanished from view. Surzek's residence turned out to be a luxurious mansion hidden behind layers of magical barriers. Inside, they were led to a spacious study lined with books in languages Naruto couldn't read. A woman with silver hair and a maid's uniform served them tea before taking up a position near Surzek. This is Graphia, my wife and queen, Surzek introduced her. You can speak freely here. We're completely protected from any eavesdropping. Naruto sat uncomfortably in a plush armchair, hyper-aware of Ophis standing silently beside him like some kind of guardian. Kuroka had draped herself over a couch, looking relaxed but with eyes that missed nothing. Start at the beginning, Surzek suggested. Tell us about your world and how you ended up here. Naruto took a deep breath and began his story, the ninja villages, the Fourth Great Ninja War, his battle alongside Sasuke against Kagaya Otsutsuki. He explained chakra, the tailed beasts, and his status as Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. So this Nine Tails is sealed within you? Surzek asked, leaning forward with interest. That explains the second energy signature Ophis mentioned. Yeah, Kurama and I are partners now, Naruto said. We fight together. Fascinating, Surzek murmured. And this six-path sage mode you mentioned, is that what Ophis senses as similar to the dimensional gap? Ophis nodded. Creation and destruction in perfect balance. The power to reshape reality itself. It is familiar. Can you demonstrate? Surzek asked. Naruto hesitated, then nodded. He closed his eyes, connecting with the power Hagoromo had gifted him. When he opened them again, they had transformed into a cross-shaped pattern with the sage's distinctive rings. His body began to glow with golden chakra, 6 truth-seeking orbs materializing behind him. Kuroka sat up straight, her casual demeanor vanishing. That power, it's incredible. I've never felt anything like it. Even Graphia took a step back, her composed expression showing a hint of awe. Ophis, however, moved closer, reaching out to touch the golden chakra surrounding Naruto. Yes. This is why you are my master. This power could reclaim the gap. I still don't understand what that means, Naruto said, letting the six paths mode fade. What exactly is the dimensional gap, and why do you want it back so badly? The dimensional gap is the void between worlds, Ophis explained. It is endless nothingness and infinite possibility. It was my home until Great Red invaded and forced me out. So you want me to help you kick out this Great Red guy and take back your home? Yes. Naruto frowned. And what happens to me after that? How do I get back to my world? Ophis tilted her head slightly, as if the question confused her. You would stay with me in the gap, as my master. That's not happening, Naruto said firmly. I have people waiting for me. Friends who need my help. I can't just abandon them. Perhaps, Xerxes interjected, there's a compromise to be found. Ophis, if Naruto were to help you against Great Red, could access to the dimensional gap potentially help him find a way back to his world? Ophis considered this. It is possible. The gap connects to all realities. See? Naruto said, brightening. We can help each other out. But first, Xerxes continued, we need to understand the full implications of your arrival here, Naruto. If the Chaos Brigade learns that Ophis has declared you her master, they will stop at nothing to control or eliminate you. Chaos Brigade? Naruto asked. A terrorist organization, Kuroka explained, examining her nails casually. Composed of various factions with different goals but united in wanting to disrupt the current power balance. She glanced up with a sly smile. I may have worked with them occasionally. They seek to use Ophis's power for their own ends, Xerxes added. If they believe they can control Ophis through you. Great, Naruto sighed. So I've got murderous fallen angels and terrorist organizations after me now. Feels just like home, honestly. Kuroka laughed. I like your attitude, Whiskers. Most humans would be curled up in a ball by now. I've dealt with worse, Naruto said, thinking of Akatsuki, Madara, and Kagaya. So what's the play here? I need to find a way back to my world, and apparently that means dealing with this Great Red in the dimensional gap. But first I need to understand this world better and avoid getting kidnapped by terrorists. You could stay here, under my protection, Xerxes offered. My sister runs Kuo Academy nearby. It would provide excellent cover while you learn about our world. School. Naruto made a face. I wasn't great at that even in my own world. You need not hide, Ophis stated. With me at your side, none would dare challenge you. Except anyone wanting to prove themselves against the infinite dragon god and her new master, Kuroka pointed out. Which is, pretty much every powerful being with an ego. She stretched languorously. If you want my advice, Whiskers, you should lay low for a while. Learn the players in this game before you start moving pieces. And where do you suggest I lay low? Naruto asked. Kuroka grinned. I might know a place or two. And I could show you around, help you understand how things work here. Her golden eyes gleamed. For a price, of course. What kind of price? Naruto asked suspiciously. Nothing too demanding, she purred. Just your protection from those who hunt me, and perhaps. She leaned closer, a taste of that delicious life force you're radiating. Kuroka, Xerxes warned. She waved dismissively. Just teasing. Mostly. Naruto looked between them all, Xerxes with his offer of official protection, Ophis with her unblinking stare and declaration of mastery, and Kuroka with her dangerous flirtation and practical knowledge of the underworld. I need time to think, he said finally. This is a lot to take in. Of course, Xerxes nodded. You're welcome to stay here tonight. We can continue this discussion in the morning. As they prepared to leave the study, Ophis spoke again. I will remain with my master. I don't need a bodyguard while I sleep, Naruto protested. I do not sleep, Ophis replied. I will watch over you. Creepy, Kuroka muttered, though there was amusement in her voice. But effective. Fine, Naruto sighed. But keep some distance, alright? It's weird having someone stare at me all night. As Graphia led them to their rooms, Naruto found himself walking alongside Kuroka. Why are you really helping me? He asked quietly. What's in it for you? Kuroka smiled, her golden eyes catching the light. Let's just say I'm curious about what happens when a human carries the power to command the Dragon of Infinity. She flicked one of her tails against his arm. Besides, you're interesting. And strong. I like that combination. Right, Naruto said skeptically. Just remember, I've dealt with plenty of people who tried to use me for the power I carry. It never ends well for them. Instead of being intimidated, Kuroka's smile widened. Dangerous and smart. Even better. She leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. Don't worry, Whiskers. I may have my own interests, but I'm honest about them. That's more than most in this world can say. With that, she sauntered ahead to her assigned room, leaving Naruto wondering what exactly he'd gotten himself into. Later, lying in bed with Ophis silently standing by the window like some gothic Lolita sentinel, Naruto stared at the unfamiliar ceiling. His mind raced with everything he'd learned, devils and angels, dragons and dimensional gaps, terrorist organizations and supernatural politics. Hey, Ophis, he said softly. She turned her blank gaze to him. Yes, master. Drop the master thing, would you? Just call me Naruto. As you wish. Naruto. Why are you so sure I can help you beat Great Red? He sounds incredibly powerful. Ophis was silent for a moment. Great Red is the dragon of dreams, the true dragon. I am the dragon of infinity, the Ouroboros dragon. We are opposite aspects of the same power. But you. She moved closer to the bed. You contain both creation and destruction. The power to dream and the power to make those dreams reality. With you, balance can be restored. Naruto considered this. In my world, I was fighting to break a cycle of hatred that had lasted for generations. I wanted to create peace through understanding, not more fighting. He sat up, looking directly at Ophis. If I help you, it won't be to start another war. There has to be another way. War is inevitable, Ophis stated. Great Red will not surrender the gap willingly. Maybe, Naruto smiled slightly, but I've gotten pretty good at changing people's minds about what's inevitable. He lay back down. We'll figure something out. Together. For the first time, something like surprise flickered across Ophis's expressionless face. Together, she repeated, as if testing the word. As Naruto finally drifted off to sleep, his last thought was of his friends back home. Sakura, Kakashi, and especially Sasuke, had they defeated Kaguya without him? Were they looking for him? Did time even flow the same way between worlds? One thing was certain, he would find a way back. But first, he had a dragon god to help, a new world to understand, and apparently, a Nekashu and a devil to keep an eye on. Just another day in the life of Naruto Uzumaki. Chapter 2, Convergent Powers. Morning came with the weird sense of displacement Naruto was starting to get used to. For a split second after waking, he expected to see his apartment ceiling or maybe a tent on the battlefield. Instead, he got ornate moldings and fancy light fixtures. Right. Different world, he mumbled, sitting up to find Ophis in the exact same spot she'd been in when he fell asleep, still staring at him. Don't you ever blink? When necessary, she replied. That's not creepy at all. Naruto swung his legs over the bed, running fingers through his messy blonde hair. So what's the plan for today? More talks with the devil boss. Sirs Lucifer wishes to continue discussions at breakfast, Ophis confirmed. Kuroka disappeared during the night. She what? Naruto frowned. Why didn't you tell me? You were sleeping. She said she would return. A knock at the door interrupted them. Graphia entered, her expression professionally neutral despite finding Naruto still in bed with the infinite dragon god standing watch. Breakfast will be served in 30 minutes, Mr. Uzumaki. Lord Lucifer requests your presence. She placed fresh clothes at the foot of the bed. These should fit you. After she left, Naruto examined the clothes, jeans, a t-shirt, and a hoodie. All orange and black. Ha! At least Devil Boy has good taste. 30 minutes later, Naruto followed Ophis into an elegant dining room where Sirs waited alongside a beautiful woman with long crimson hair. Good morning, Naruto, Sirs greeted him. I'd like you to meet my wife, Gremory Venelana. The woman smiled warmly. Welcome to our home. I understand you've had quite the unusual arrival in our world. That's putting it mildly, Naruto replied, taking a seat. He noticed the empty chair where Kuroka should have been. So, our cat friend took off. Not surprising, Sirs said. Kuroka isn't known for her reliability. As an SS-class stray devil, she likely feared this might be an elaborate trap. Servants brought in platters of food, some familiar, some completely foreign to Naruto. He dug in immediately, realizing how hungry he was after yesterday's battles. So, he said between mouthfuls, what's the agenda? More interrogation about my world. Information exchange, Sirs corrected smoothly. I've been thinking about your situation. If you're to survive here while searching for a way home, you need to understand our world quickly. Venelana nodded. The supernatural factions maintain a delicate balance. Devils, angels, fallen angels, and various mythological pantheons all coexist, sometimes peacefully, sometimes not. And where do you fit in? Naruto asked Ophis, who stood behind his chair, refusing to sit. I fit nowhere, she replied. I am infinity. I exist outside their structures. Real helpful, Naruto muttered. He turned back to Sirs. You mentioned a school yesterday? Kuo Academy, Sirs confirmed. A school in human territory that secretly hosts many young devils, including my sister Rias. It would provide excellent cover while you acclimate. Naruto made a face. School wasn't really my thing even in my own world. Consider it reconnaissance, Venelana suggested. A ninja gathers intelligence before acting, correct? Touché, Naruto admitted. He was about to ask another question when a ripple in the air caught his attention, his battle instincts flaring a split second before a familiar magic circle appeared in the dining room. Kuroka stepped through, looking somewhat disheveled. Sorry I'm late for breakfast, Naya. Had some business to take care of. Her golden eyes swept over the room, lingering on Naruto before settling on Sirs. We've got trouble. The Cows Brigade is already mobilizing to find our friend here. Sirs frowned. That was faster than expected. How did they learn of Naruto's existence so quickly? Your fallen angel friends from yesterday aren't exactly tight-lipped, Kuroka replied, snatching a pastry from the table and biting into it. Word travels fast when the infinite dragon god declares someone her master. She glanced at Naruto. Congrats, Whiskers. You're officially the most wanted human in the supernatural world. Great, Naruto sighed. Just what I needed. Actually, Kuroka continued, dropping into the empty chair, that's not the worst part. Guess who's personally taken an interest in you? She didn't wait for an answer. Rizavim Levon Lucifer. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Sirsex's expression hardened. You're certain? My sources are good, Kuroka replied, suddenly serious. He's mobilizing the old Satan faction to hunt down Naruto. Who's Rizavim? Naruto asked, noting everyone's reaction. One of the most dangerous devils in existence, Surzex explained grimly. Son of the original Lucifer and a super devil with abilities far beyond normal limits. He's also completely insane. Awesome, Naruto muttered. Another power-hungry psychopath. Those never get old. He's worse than that, Venelana added. Rise of him doesn't seek power for any purpose, he causes chaos and suffering for his own amusement. If he's targeting you specifically, then staying here isn't an option, Naruto concluded. I won't put you and your family at risk. Surzex looked surprised. You're concerned for our safety? Where I'm from, we don't endanger allies, Naruto said simply. Besides, I'm guessing this Rise of him guy has a problem with you already, being another Lucifer and all. No need to give him more reasons to attack. Kuroka leaned back in her chair, studying Naruto with new interest. My. Noble and pragmatic. Rare combination. There is another option, Ophis suddenly spoke up. Everyone turned to her. I can take Naruto to one of my hidden domains. No devil, not even Rise of him, could find us there. And do what? Naruto asked. Hide forever. That doesn't help me get home or you reclaim the dimensional gap. We train, Ophis stated simply. I teach you to use your power more efficiently. You grow stronger for our eventual confrontation with Great Red. Kuroka laughed. Training with the infinite dragon god? That's either the best opportunity ever or a death sentence. She grinned at Naruto. Want a third option? I know places even the Chaos Brigade doesn't. Plus, I can teach you senjutsu that works with this world's energy. Naruto considered his options. Staying with Surzex put innocent people at risk. Going with Ophis meant isolation and single-minded training for a battle he wasn't sure he wanted to fight. Kuroka offered freedom and new skills, but could he trust her? How about this, he finally said. I'll split my time. Train with Ophis on controlling this infinity power she sees in me. Learn about this world's energy from Kuroka. And occasionally check in with you, Surzex, to understand the political landscape better. He looked around the table. That way I cover all bases. A smile slowly spread across Surzex's face. A diplomatic solution. Perhaps you understand our world better than you realize. I'm in, Kuroka said, stretching lazily. Could be fun teaching a dimension hopper about senjutsu. Ophis simply nodded. Acceptable. We begin today. Then it's settled, Naruto grinned. But first, I'm finishing breakfast. Dimensional travel makes me hungry. The hidden domain Ophis transported them to wasn't what Naruto expected. Instead of some dark, empty void, they arrived in a lush forest clearing with a small traditional Japanese house nearby. Mountains rose in the distance under a perfect blue sky. This is your hiding spot? Naruto asked, looking around appreciatively. Gotta admit, it's nicer than I thought it would be. It is a fraction of reality I've shaped to my preference, Ophis explained. Time flows differently here. We can train for months while only days pass outside. That's convenient, Naruto said, thinking of his hyperbolic time chamber training with the toads at Mount Mayaboku. So what's first? Teaching me about this infinity power you keep mentioning? Ophis approached him, her small form seeming out of place amid the natural beauty surrounding them. First, I must understand your current abilities better. She pointed to a massive boulder at the edge of the clearing. Break it using only your base power. Naruto shrugged and walked over to the boulder. Without using Sage Mode or Kurama's chakra, he focused chakra into his fist and struck. The boulder cracked but remained mostly intact. Now with your sage energy, Ophis instructed. Naruto nodded, closed his eyes, and gathered natural energy. The familiar sensation of Sage Mode washed over him, orange pigmentation appearing around his eyes. This time when he struck the boulder, it shattered completely. Ophis observed with her unchanging expression. Interesting. Your sage energy interacts differently with this world's natural forces. Now, show me your connection with the entity inside you. His name is Kurama, Naruto said, a hint of defensiveness in his tone. And we're partners, not host and parasite. Show me, Ophis repeated, unmoved. Naruto sighed and closed his eyes again, connecting with Kurama's chakra. The familiar orange energy enveloped him, forming a glowing shroud. This little dragon girl is irritating, Kurama's voice rumbled in his mind. Tell me about it, Naruto muttered. Aloud, he asked, satisfied. But Ophis was suddenly much closer, her blank eyes showing the first real emotion Naruto had seen, intense interest. The fox wishes to meet me, she stated. Naruto blinked in surprise. You can hear him. I sense his curiosity. Ophis placed a small hand against Naruto's chest. Bring him forth. That's not really how it, Naruto began, but felt a strange tugging sensation as Ophis's power interacted with his chakra network. The world around them blurred, and suddenly they were standing in the familiar space of Naruto's mindscape. Kurama lounged behind the now open gate, his massive tail swishing lazily as he regarded Ophis with interest. So you're the infinite dragon god, Kurama rumbled. You're smaller than I expected. And you are contained within a human, Ophis replied. You are smaller than you should be. Kurama bared his teeth in what might have been a smile or a snarl. Careful, little dragon. I existed before this universe was formed. As did I, Ophis countered. I watched the birth and death of countless realities from the dimensional gap. Naruto looked between them, sensing the tension. Hey, can we not have a "who's the oldest cosmic entity" contest right now? We're supposed to be training. Kurama chuckled. Your new master is right, dragon. What exactly do you hope to accomplish with him? I am not his master, Ophis stated. He is mine. That made both Naruto and Kurama laugh. Yeah, good luck with that, Kurama said. This kid doesn't follow anyone's orders, not even mine. Ophis tilted her head, studying Naruto with renewed interest. The fox speaks truth. You contain power comparable to infinity, yet your will remains your own. She stepped closer to Naruto. This is why you must be my master. You understand balance. The mindscape faded, returning them to the forest clearing. Naruto stumbled slightly, the transition more disorienting than he expected. What was that about? He demanded. Confirmation, Ophis replied. Your partnership with the fox is unusual. You share power but remain separate entities. This will help with what I must teach you. Which is the nature of infinity. Ophis gestured, and the air before them rippled. A small tear appeared, showing nothing but blackness beyond. This is a glimpse of the dimensional gap. The place between realities. Look closely. Naruto peered into the tear. At first, he saw only emptiness, but then, patterns. Currents of energy flowing in impossible directions. Colors that shouldn't exist. It's beautiful, he murmured, surprised by his own reaction. It is home, Ophis said, something like longing in her voice. Your six paths energy resonates with it. That is what I sensed when you arrived in this world. The tear closed, and Ophis turned to Naruto. Now we begin. First, you must learn to recognize the boundary between dimensions. Then, to touch it. Finally, to manipulate it. And this will help me get home? Naruto asked. Eventually, Ophis nodded. But first, it will help you survive Rise of him. While Naruto trained with Ophis, Kuroka had disappeared to handle some business. 3 days later, though it felt like weeks in Ophis's time-altered domain, she returned, sauntering into the clearing as if she'd never left. Miss me, Whiskers, she called, finding Naruto meditating under Ophis's watchful gaze. Naruto opened one eye. Depends. Bring any ramen? Kuroka laughed. No, but I brought information. She dropped gracefully to sit cross-legged in front of him. Rizavim's made his first move. He's gathering artifacts related to dimensional travel. That's not good, Naruto frowned, fully opening his eyes. Any idea what he's planning? Nothing specific yet, but my contacts say he's obsessed with finding you. Her golden eyes gleamed. Congratulations, you've made quite the impression on the supernatural world. The human who commands Ophis. I don't command her, Naruto sighed. We're working together. Semantics, Kuroka waved dismissively. What matters is perception. And right now, everyone perceives you as someone with control over one of the most powerful beings in existence. She leaned forward. So, how's the training going? Naruto glanced at Ophis. It's different. Not like anything I've trained in before. Show me, Kuroka challenged. Naruto hesitated, then nodded. He closed his eyes, focusing on what Ophis had taught him. When he opened them again, a faint aura surrounded him, not the golden glow of Six Paths mode or the orange of Kurama's chakra, but something subtler. Like heat ripples in the air, distorting the space around him. Kuroka's eyes widened. That's dimensional energy. You're actually manipulating the boundary between realities. She glanced at Ophis. Impressive teaching methods for someone who barely speaks. He learns quickly, Ophis stated. My turn to teach then, Kuroka declared, standing up. This world's senjutsu is different from your sage energy. Less about strength, more about perception and manipulation. I'm listening, Naruto said, letting the dimensional energy dissipate. First lesson, sensing the life force around you. Kuroka moved her hands in a fluid gesture, and green-blue energy flickered between her fingers. Every living thing has ki. Senjutsu lets you tap into that energy, use it, redirect it. She demonstrated by touching a nearby flower, which instantly grew to triple its size. Life manipulation. Then she touched the ground, and a small tremor shook the clearing. Earth energy. Finally, she gathered energy into a concentrated ball between her palms. And combat applications. Neat tricks, Naruto grinned. But I've got some experience with nature energy already. Show me, Kuroka challenged. Naruto activated his sage mode, the familiar orange pigmentation appearing around his eyes. This is how we use nature energy where I'm from. Kuroka circled him, studying the transformation with evident curiosity. Interesting. You're drawing in the energy but processing it differently. She reached out to touch his arm, then jerked back. Wow. That tingles. Your version feels different too, Naruto admitted, sensing the flow of energy around Kuroka. Like, wilder somehow. That's because it is, she explained. Your sage energy is filtered, controlled. Our senjutsu is raw, primal. A mischievous smile spread across her face. Want to try combining them? Is that possible? Naruto asked, glancing at Ophis. The dragon god observed silently before giving a slight nod. It would increase your versatility. Worth a shot then, Naruto decided. What followed was one of the strangest training sessions of Naruto's life. Kuroka's teaching style was hands-on, very hands-on. She constantly adjusted his posture, guided his movements, and occasionally used her tails to redirect his attention. You're too stiff, she complained, poking his shoulder. Senjutsu needs to flow like water, not march like a soldier. I'm trying, Naruto grumbled, attempting to gather ki the way she demonstrated. It feels different from chakra. That's because it is different, Kuroka replied. She moved behind him, placing her hands on his shoulders. Close your eyes. Don't try to force it. Just, feel. Naruto closed his eyes, trying to sense the energy around him without molding it as he would chakra. Gradually, he became aware of the vibrant life force in everything, the trees, the grass, even the soil beneath his feet. Different from Sage Chakra but somehow familiar. "There you go," Kuroka murmured, her breath warm against his ear. "Now pull it in, gently. Like coaxing a cat to come to you, not grabbing it." Naruto tried the approach, visualizing the energy responding to his invitation rather than his demand. Slowly, he felt it enter his body, wild and untamed compared to the nature energy he was used to. "Good," Kuroka purred. "Now, mix it with your own energy. Not controlling it, blending with it." This was the tricky part. Naruto carefully introduced the key to his chakra network, anticipating resistance. Instead, the energies spiraled around each other, creating patterns he could almost see behind his closed eyelids. "Look at that," Kuroka whispered, genuine amazement in her voice. "They're harmonizing." Naruto opened his eyes to find his body glowing with dual energy, the steady blue-green of senjutsu intertwined with the golden threads of his own chakra. It felt right. Like something that had always been possible but never attempted. "Fascinating," Ophis said, moving closer to observe. "The energy of two worlds, combining within a single vessel." The training continued for what felt like weeks in Ophis's domain. Naruto alternated between Ophis's lessons on dimensional energy and Kuroka's tutelage in senjutsu. Gradually, he began to understand the subtle differences between this world's supernatural powers and his own chakra-based abilities. Most importantly, he learned to blend them, using chakra to enhance senjutsu techniques and incorporating dimensional awareness into his combat style. The results were unpredictable but effective. "You're a natural," Kuroka admitted after a particularly intense sparring session left her pinned beneath a web of chakra threads enhanced with senjutsu. "Most devils train for centuries to reach this level of control." "Fast learner," Naruto grinned, helping her up. "Had to be, to keep up with everyone else back home." Ophis, who had been observing from the sidelines, approached them. "It is time to test your progress against a real threat. Raizavim's forces are gathering near Kuo town. Surzex requests our assistance." "How long has it been outside?" Naruto asked, realizing he'd lost track of time in the altered domain. 5 days, Ophis replied. 5 days? Naruto exclaimed. "It feels like we've been training for months." 6 weeks, 3 days in this domain's time, Ophis confirmed. "Sufficient for basic mastery, not for complete understanding." "It'll have to do," Naruto said grimly. "If this Raizavim guy is making his move, we can't hide forever." Kuroka stretched, her black tail swishing thoughtfully. "Going public means making a statement. Everyone will be watching to see what the master of Ophis can really do. Then let's give them a show they won't forget," Naruto said with determination. "Time to introduce myself to the supernatural world." Kuo town was under siege. From the hilltop overlooking the city, Naruto could see multiple magical barriers erected around the academy and strange creatures roaming the streets. Citizens had been evacuated or placed under memory-altering spells, according to Kuroka. Raizavim brought friends, she observed, pointing to different sections of the town. "Those are Chaos Brigade forces, magicians to the east, rogue exorcists to the north, and..." She squinted, "Looks like he even convinced some of the old Satan faction to join the party." "Where's Surzex?" Naruto asked. "Probably at the academy with his sister," Kuroka replied. "That's their stronghold." Ophis stood silently beside them, her blank gaze fixed on a particular building downtown. "Raizavim is there. I sense his power." Naruto nodded, formulating a plan. "Okay, here's what we do. Kuroka, can you get to Surzex and coordinate with his forces?" She raised an eyebrow. "Playing general now, Whiskers." "Just making suggestions," Naruto grinned. "Unless you've got a better plan." "Not really," she admitted. "What about you two?" "Ophis and I will handle Raizavim directly," Naruto said, his expression hardening. Time to meet this guy and find out what he wants. Direct approach. I like it, Kuroka smirked. She hesitated, then leaned in and planted a quick kiss on Naruto's cheek. For luck. Try not to die, Naya. Before Naruto could respond, she disappeared in a teleportation circle. He touched his cheek, a little stunned by the unexpected gesture. Her energy fluctuates around you, Ophis observed. Interesting. Let's focus on the task at hand, Naruto said, brushing off the comment. Ready to introduce me to this Rise of Him character? Ophis nodded. He cannot harm me. But he will try to control you through me. Let him try, Naruto said confidently. I've dealt with manipulators before. They made their way down the hill, Naruto opting to travel on foot rather than teleport. He wanted to get a feel for the battlefield, assess the enemy's positions firsthand. As they entered the town, the first wave of opposition spotted them. There they are, shouted a magician, raising a glowing staff. The dragon and her master. A barrage of magical attacks flew toward them. Naruto could have dodged, but instead, he stepped forward, channeling the dimensional energy Ophis had taught him to manipulate. The space around him rippled, and the magical attacks curved away, disappearing into small tears in reality. That's new, one of the magicians gasped. My turn, Naruto called out. He formed his signature cross-shaped hand seal. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Dozens of Naruto clones appeared, surrounding the magicians. Before they could react, the clones attacked with a combination of taijutsu and chakra-enhanced strikes. Within moments, the magician squad was unconscious. Efficient, Ophis commented. They continued toward the downtown building, encountering more resistance along the way. Each confrontation followed a similar pattern. Enemies attacked, expecting to face a normal human alongside Ophis, only to discover that Naruto was anything but normal. As they approached their destination, a new group blocked their path. These weren't magicians or exorcists but devils, powerful ones, judging by the dark aura surrounding them. So you're the human who claims mastery over the infinite dragon god, said their leader, a woman with silver hair and cold eyes. Lord Rise of Him is eager to meet you. Not claiming anything, Naruto replied casually. Just here to talk to your boss. Kateria Leviathan, Ophis identified the woman. One of the old Satan faction leaders. Ophis, Kateria acknowledged with a slight bow. Why do you follow this human? What power does he hold over you? He carries infinity within him, Ophis stated simply. He understands the gap. Kateria's eyes narrowed. Impossible. He's just a human. Want to test that theory? Naruto challenged, slipping into a fighting stance. Stand down, Kateria, a new voice called out. Our guests have come all this way. It would be rude to keep them waiting. A man appeared from within the building, tall, handsome, with silver hair and a charming smile that didn't reach his cruel eyes. He wore an expensive suit and exuded an aura of power that made the air itself feel heavy. Rise of Him Levon Lucifer, Ophis stated. The one and only, he replied with an exaggerated bow. And you must be Naruto Uzumaki, the dimensional traveler who's caused such a stir in our little world. His gaze shifted to Ophis. Along with my old friend, the Ouroboros dragon. We're not here to chat, Naruto said bluntly. Call off your attack on this town. Rise of Him laughed, the sound unnervingly pleasant. Direct, aren't you? I like that. He gestured grandly. But you misunderstand the situation. This isn't an attack, it's a welcome party. All for you, my dimension-hopping friend. Some welcome, Naruto replied dryly. Usually parties have less destruction and more food. Details, Rise of Him waved dismissively. The point is, I wanted to meet you personally. The human who somehow convinced Ophis, the infinite dragon god, to call him master. That's quite the achievement. I didn't convince her of anything, Naruto said. And I'm not interested in being anyone's master. How modest, Rizavim smirked. But we both know power when we see it, don't we? He took a step forward. What I'm curious about is what exactly you plan to do with your new position. Ophis is quite the asset, after all. Naruto's eyes narrowed. She's not an asset. She's a person, well, a dragon person, with her own goals and choices. How wonderfully naive, Rizavim chuckled. You really don't understand what you've stumbled into, do you? He glanced at Ophis. The Dragon of Infinity has been seeking a way to defeat Great Red for centuries. Many have tried to use her power for their own ends. None have succeeded. His gaze returned to Naruto. Until you, apparently. I'm not using anyone, Naruto insisted. Ophis and I have an arrangement. We help each other. Of course, Rizavim nodded condescendingly. And what exactly does the great Ophis get from this arrangement? Besides a new master to follow around like a pet. Naruto sensed Ophis tensing beside him, the first real emotional response he'd seen from her in a confrontation. That's between us, Naruto replied firmly. Now, last chance. Call off your forces and leave Kuo town alone. Rizavim's pleasant expression hardened slightly. You're in no position to make demands, boy. You may have Ophis's respect for now, but you're still just a human in a world of gods and monsters. He spread his arms. Look around you. This is but a fraction of the Chaos Brigade's strength. And they all answer to me. Impressive, Naruto acknowledged, seemingly casual. But you still haven't seen what I can do. Oh. Rizavim's eyes gleamed with interest. Please, demonstrate. Naruto glanced at Ophis, who gave a slight nod. Then he closed his eyes, gathering his chakra. When he opened them again, they had transformed into the cross-shaped pattern of Six Paths Sage Mode. Golden energy erupted around him, bathing the street in brilliant light. What is this? Rizavim demanded, his confident demeanor slipping for the first time. This, Naruto said, truth-seeking orbs materializing behind him, is what Ophis saw in me. Without warning, one of the orbs shot forward, morphing into a staff that extended directly toward Rizavim's chest. The devil leader barely managed to dodge, his eyes widening as the staff passed through a magical barrier he'd erected as if it weren't there. Impossible, he whispered. That negated my power. Truth-seeking orbs, Naruto explained, calling the staff back to join the others. They nullify pretty much everything they touch. Rizavim's shock quickly gave way to calculating interest. Fascinating. Not demonic power, not holy energy, something entirely new. His smile returned, more genuine this time. Perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot, Naruto Uzumaki. I think we could be valuable allies. Not interested, Naruto replied flatly. Don't be hasty, Rizavim cautioned. The supernatural world is complex and dangerous. You need allies, connections, protection. He gestured to the city around them. What happened here today was merely a demonstration. A taste of what awaits you without proper guidance. You mean without your control, Naruto countered. Thanks, but I'll take my chances. Rizavim sighed dramatically. I was afraid you'd say that. He snapped his fingers, and magical circles appeared throughout the area. Perhaps a more convincing demonstration is in order. From the circles emerged creatures unlike anything Naruto had seen before, twisted amalgamations of beast and human, their bodies covered in glowing sigils. Enhanced chimeras, Rizavim explained proudly. Specially designed to hunt beings with unique energy signatures. Like yourself. His smile turned predatory. They can track you anywhere, through any barrier. Even Ophis's domains aren't safe anymore. You've been busy, Naruto observed, assessing the new threat. There were at least 50 chimeras surrounding them, each radiating malevolent power. I'm always preparing for the future, Rizavim replied. And you, my dimensional friend, are quite the interesting variable in my calculations. Naruto, Ophis spoke quietly. These creatures bear traces of Great Red's power. Rise of him has somehow harvested energy from the dimensional gap. That caught Naruto's attention. Is that even possible? Difficult but not impossible, Rise of him interjected. Especially with the right incentives for my researchers. You're messing with powers you don't understand, Naruto warned. On the contrary, Rise of him replied. I understand perfectly well what I'm doing. The question is, do you? He gestured to Ophis. Do you understand what it means to command the Dragon of Infinity? The responsibility? The target it places on your back. Before Naruto could respond, a massive explosion rocked the northern part of town. Kuroka appeared beside them in a flash of teleportation. Surzek sends his regards, she announced, slightly out of breath. Devil reinforcements have arrived. They're engaging the Cow's brigade forces now. Perfect timing, Naruto grinned. We were just about to start the real party. Rise of him's expression darkened. This isn't over, Uzumaki. Consider today a preview of what's to come. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and one more thing. My chimeras? They're as interested in your cat friend there as they are in you. Something about her unique signature when she's near you. With that cryptic statement, he vanished in a flash of light, leaving them surrounded by the snarling chimeras. What did he mean by that? Naruto asked Kuroka. No idea, she replied, though her ears flattened slightly against her head. But we've got bigger problems right now. The chimeras attacked as one, moving with unnatural speed and coordination. Naruto's truth-seeking orbs formed a defensive barrier around the trio as he assessed their opponents. These things are different from the stray devils, he noted as one crashed against his barrier, its claws leaving scratch marks on what should have been impenetrable material. Great Red's power, Ophis repeated. Diluted but present. Then we'll just have to hit them harder, Naruto decided. He formed a familiar hand seal. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Hundreds of Naruto clones appeared throughout the area, each glowing with 6 paths energy. They engaged the chimeras while the original Naruto turned to his companions. Ophis, can you track Rise of him? He's the real threat here. The dragon god nodded. He has not left the city. He watches from afar. Typical, Kuroka scoffed. Letting his pets do the dirty work. Kuroka, link up with Surzek's forces, Naruto continued. We need to coordinate to minimize damage to the town. On it, she agreed, then hesitated. Be careful, Whiskers. Those chimeras are targeting you specifically. I've handled worse, Naruto assured her. Now go. As Kuroka teleported away, Naruto turned to Ophis. Ready to show Rise of him what happens when he threatens your master? The slightest hint of what might have been a smile touched Ophis's lips. Yes. They moved into action together, their powers complementing each other in ways that surprised even Naruto. Ophis's control over space created openings that Naruto exploited with devastating combination attacks. His shadow clones provided perfect distractions while Ophis unleashed concentrated blasts of infinity that reduced chimeras to dust. Across town, similar battles raged as devil forces engaged the Cow's brigade. Explosions lit up the night sky, magical barriers shimmered and shattered, and the air itself seemed charged with supernatural energy. Naruto and Ophis fought their way toward Rise of him's hiding spot, dispatching chimeras as they went. Despite their strength, the creatures kept coming, regenerating from injuries that would have killed normal beings. They're drawing power from somewhere, Naruto realized as a chimera he'd just impaled with a raisin shuriken pulled itself back together. Something's fueling them. Ophis pointed to faint lines of energy visible only to those sensitive to dimensional fluctuations. They are connected to a power source. Follow the lines. They traced the energy back to its source, a glowing artifact in the center of the town square. Protected by a ring of especially large chimeras, the device pulsed with malevolent power. A dimensional anchor, Ophis identified it. It draws energy from the gap to fuel Rizavim's creations. Then we destroy it, Naruto decided. He summoned a clone and began forming his most powerful technique. The clone's hands moved rapidly over his palm as a Rasengan formed, then grew, incorporating wind nature to create a massive shuriken of chakra. Rasen Shuriken. Naruto called out, hurling the technique at the artifact. The Chimera guards intercepted it, sacrificing themselves in a massive explosion of wind chakra. When the dust cleared, the artifact remained intact, though visibly damaged. It is protected by Great Red's essence, Ophis observed. Your chakra alone cannot destroy it. Then we'll hit it together, Naruto suggested. Your infinity power combined with my 6 paths energy. Ophis considered this, then nodded. A combined attack may succeed. Naruto extended his hand, forming another Rasengan. This time, Ophis placed her small hand over his, infusing the swirling chakra sphere with her own power. The Rasengan transformed, growing darker at its center while glowing brighter at its edges, like a miniature version of the dimensional gap itself. Gap Rasengan, Naruto named it with a grin. An appropriate term, Ophis agreed. Together, they charged toward the artifact, cutting through the remaining chimeras with combined attacks. As they reached the town square, Naruto raised the Gap Rasengan. Now, he shouted, driving the technique into the artifact. The resulting explosion was unlike anything Naruto had experienced before. A shockwave of dimensional energy rippled outward, temporarily distorting the very fabric of reality around them. Buildings seemed to bend, colors inverted, and for a split second, Naruto thought he glimpsed other worlds through cracks in the air. When everything stabilized, the artifact was gone, along with most of the town square. A perfect hemispherical crater marked where it had been. Well, that was more effective than I expected, Naruto commented, surveying the damage. Our energies are compatible, Ophis stated. This confirms my choice of master. Before Naruto could respond, or protest the title again, a slow clapping sound echoed across the square. Rizavim stepped out of a teleportation circle, looking annoyed despite his applauding gesture. Impressive teamwork, he acknowledged. But ultimately futile. That was just one of several anchors I've placed throughout the supernatural world. His eyes narrowed. Though I must admit, the way your powers combined was unexpected. Your chimeras are disappearing, Naruto pointed out as the remaining creatures began to dissolve without the artifact's energy sustaining them. A minor setback, Rizavim shrugged. The real purpose of today's exercise was to gather data. He smiled coldly. And in that, you've exceeded all expectations. What do you really want? Naruto demanded. Why target me specifically? Isn't it obvious? Rizavim replied. Control Ophis as master, control Ophis. Control Ophis, control infinite power. He spread his arms. It's simple mathematics, really. Except for one problem, Naruto said. I don't control Ophis. We're partners. Keep telling yourself that, Rizavim smirked. But we both know the truth. The Dragon of Infinity doesn't partner with anyone. If she acknowledges you as master, there's something special about you, something I intend to understand and exploit. A massive magic circle appeared beneath the devil's feet. Until next time, Naruto Uzumaki. Do give my regards to Surzex. I'm sure he's thrilled with the new crater in his sister's territory. With that, Rizavim disappeared, leaving Naruto and Ophis alone in the devastated town square. He retreated too easily, Naruto frowned. What was he really after? Data, Ophis repeated. He wanted to observe our combined power. Why? Ophis was silent for a moment. Unknown. But Rizavim never acts without purpose. His interest in you is concerning. Their conversation was interrupted as Kuroka teleported into the square, followed by Surzex and several other devils Naruto didn't recognize. Whoa, Kuroka whistled, looking at the crater. You two don't do anything halfway, do you? Surzex surveyed the damage with a measured expression. The Chaos Brigade forces are retreating across the city. Whatever you did here seems to have disrupted their operations. We destroyed some kind of dimensional anchor, Naruto explained. It was powering those chimera things. One of the devils with Surzex, a handsome young man with blonde hair, stepped forward to examine the crater's edge. These energy residues, they're like nothing I've ever seen. A combination of my power and Naruto's, Ophis stated. The blonde devil looked up in surprise. You combined powers? Voluntarily? Is that unusual? Naruto asked. Ophis doesn't share power, Surzex explained. Ever. For her to willingly combine her energy with yours. He shook his head in amazement. It further confirms that your relationship is unique. Speaking of unique relationships, Kuroka interjected, sidling up to Naruto. Did Rizabim say anything about why his chimeras were targeting me too? Just something about your unique signature when you're near me, Naruto replied. Any idea what that means? Kuroka's ears twitched, and she glanced away. Maybe. It's complicated. We can discuss all of this somewhere more private, Surzex suggested, looking around at the devastation. The cleanup here will take time, and there may be lingering Chaos Brigade operatives. Agreed, Naruto nodded. Rizabim mentioned other anchors. We need to find them before he can use them again. As they prepared to teleport away, Naruto noticed Kuroka watching him with an unreadable expression. Something wrong? He asked quietly. Not wrong, exactly, she replied, her voice missing its usual teasing tone. Just, thinking. About? She smiled, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. About how interesting you continue to be, Whiskers. Most humans would be traumatized after a day like today. I'm used to it, Naruto shrugged. Where I'm from, this kind of thing happens pretty regularly. Your world sounds fascinating, she said. Almost makes me wonder if you really want to go back. The question caught Naruto off guard. Did he want to go back? Of course he did. His friends were there. His village. His promises and dreams. But I have to try, he said finally. I can't just abandon everyone who's counting on me. Kuroka nodded, something like respect in her golden eyes. Loyalty. Rare quality these days. She stepped closer to the teleportation circle Surzex was creating. Coming, Whiskers. As they teleported away from the battlefield, Naruto couldn't help but wonder about Kuroka's question. This world was strange and dangerous, filled with beings of incredible power and complex politics. But in some ways, it wasn't so different from his own. People fighting for what they believed in. Powerful entities with their own agendas. Friends made in unlikely circumstances. And speaking of friends, he glanced at Ophis, who stood stoically beside him, and Kuroka, who winked when she caught him looking. Whatever Rizabim was planning, whatever challenges lay ahead, Naruto knew one thing for certain, he wasn't facing them alone. For now, that would have to be enough. Surzex's emergency council chamber was crowded with representatives from various devil factions. Naruto recognized Graphia standing beside her husband, but the others were new faces, all watching him with varying degrees of curiosity, suspicion, or outright hostility. The attack on Kuo town was unprecedented, Surzex was saying. The Chaos Brigade has never been so bold as to strike a devil stronghold directly. They weren't after the town, a woman with long brown hair argued. They were after him. She pointed at Naruto. Lady Seraphol is correct, Surzex acknowledged. Rizabim's primary objective appears to have been gathering data on Naruto and his connection to Ophis. And in the process, they nearly destroyed a strategic territory, grumbled an older devil. The human is a liability. The human, Naruto interjected, is sitting right here and can speak for himself. The chamber fell silent as all eyes turned to him. Naruto stood, conscious of Ophis's unwavering presence beside him and Kuroka's amused gaze from where she lounged in a corner. Look, I get that you're all worried. Rise of him used me as an excuse to attack your town. But the fact is, he's not going to stop just because you send me away. Naruto looked around the room. He's obsessed with Ophis's power, and now he's interested in how our abilities combine. The only way to deal with him is head-on. Bold words from someone who's been in our world less than 2 weeks, the older devil scoffed. Zekrom, Surzex cautioned. Naruto has already demonstrated considerable power and tactical ability. His assessment may have merit. What exactly do you propose? Asked Seraphol, studying Naruto with newfound interest. A counterattack, Naruto replied. Rise of him has those dimensional anchors placed throughout your world. We find them, destroy them, and cut off his access to the gap's power. And how do we locate these anchors? Zekrom demanded. Our best detection magic failed to identify the one in Kuo until it was activated. Naruto glanced at Ophis. She can sense them. They draw power from the gap, her original home. All eyes shifted to the small Gothic Lolita figure. Is this true, Ophis? Surzex asked. Yes, she confirmed. I can feel disturbances in the barrier between dimensions. The anchors create such disturbances. Then we have an advantage, Naruto continued. We know what Rise of him's after, we know how he's powering his creatures, and we have a way to track his tools. And what do you get out of this, Naruto Uzumaki? Zekrom asked suspiciously. Why help devils fight their own battles? Because Rise of him is blocking my way home, Naruto answered honestly. Those anchors are tapping into the same dimensional energy I need to find a path back to my world. And because, he added with a slight smile, where I'm from, we don't abandon allies when they're in trouble. Allies? Zekrom raised an eyebrow. You presume much, human. Do I? Naruto challenged. Surzex welcomed me into his home. We fought side by side today. Where I'm from, that makes us allies. A thoughtful silence fell over the chamber. I support Naruto's proposal, Surzex finally said. With Ophis's ability to locate the anchors and Naruto's unique power to destroy them, we have a rare opportunity to counter Rise of him's plans. I concur, Seraphol nodded. The boy and his dragon showed impressive capabilities today. Better to have them working with us than independently. One by one, the other devils voiced their opinions, eventually reaching a consensus in favor of Naruto's plan, some enthusiastically, others more reluctantly. Then it's settled, Surzex concluded. We'll form joint teams to locate and neutralize the dimensional anchors. He turned to Naruto. You'll lead the primary strike team with Ophis, given your unique ability to destroy the anchors. Works for me, Naruto agreed. As the council adjourned, Kuroka slipped up beside him. Impressive speech, Whiskers. You've got the devils eating out of your hand. Just speaking the truth, Naruto replied. We all want Rise of him stopped for our own reasons. Maybe, Kuroka acknowledged. But navigating devil politics usually takes centuries of practice. You managed it in under 10 minutes. Her golden eyes gleamed. You continue to surprise me. Before Naruto could respond, Surzex approached them. A word in private, if you don't mind. They followed him to a smaller chamber where Graphia waited with refreshments. Once the door closed behind them, Surzex's formal demeanor relaxed slightly. You handled the council well, he told Naruto. But there's something you should know. Rise of him's interest in you goes beyond your connection to Ophis. What do you mean? Naruto asked, accepting a cup of tea from Graphia. Our intelligence suggests he's been researching dimensional travel for months, long before your arrival, Surzex explained. Your appearance may have accelerated his plans, but they were already in motion. He wants something from the dimensional gap, Ophis stated. Something beyond mere power. Any idea what? Naruto asked. Surzex shook his head. Not specifically. But there are ancient artifacts said to be hidden in the gap, weapons from before the Great War, sealed away because they were too dangerous for any faction to possess. Great, Naruto sighed. Another megalomaniac hunting for super weapons. Feels just like home. There's more, Surzex continued, his expression grave. The way your power combined with Ophis's today, it created energy signatures unlike anything we've recorded before. If Rizavim can replicate or harness that combination, he'd have a power source beyond anything in this world, Kuroka finished. That's what he was really after today. Not just data on your individual abilities, but how they work together. Naruto frowned. So we're not just hunting anchors. We're racing against Rizavim to figure out what he's really planning. Precisely, Surzex nodded. Which brings me to a delicate question. He glanced between Naruto and Ophis. How exactly did this master relationship begin? Ophis has never acknowledged anyone in such a way before. Ophis answered before Naruto could. His six paths power resonates with the dimensional gap. When we first met, I sensed this connection. It was familiar. Comforting. She looked at Naruto. He carries infinity within him, yet remains untainted by it. This makes him worthy. Worthy of what, exactly? Kuroka asked, suddenly serious. Of entering the gap without being consumed by it, Ophis replied. Of facing Great Red. Of. She hesitated, helping me find a new purpose. That last statement caught everyone by surprise. A new purpose? Surzex repeated. Beyond reclaiming the gap from Great Red? Ophis looked almost uncomfortable, another first in Naruto's experience with her. Since meeting Naruto, I have considered alternatives. His worldview is different. All eyes turned to Naruto. What exactly have you been teaching the infinite dragon god? Surzex asked, somewhere between amazed and concerned. Just talking, mostly, Naruto shrugged. About finding different paths to your goals. About how sometimes what you think you want isn't what you actually need. You've been giving life coaching to an ancient, primordial entity of infinite power, Kuroka said flatly. Then she burst out laughing. Only you, Whiskers. Only you. Surzex looked thoughtful. This could change everything. Ophis's singular focus on defeating Great Red has been a constant in supernatural politics for centuries. If she's considering alternatives, it would reshape the balance of power, Graphia finished quietly. Look, Naruto said, feeling uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation, right now, our priority should be stopping Rizavim. We can worry about cosmic balance and dragon politics later. Agreed, Surzex nodded. We'll begin the search for dimensional anchors tomorrow. In the meantime, you should rest. Today's battle was intense, even by your standards. As they prepared to leave, Kuroka pulled Naruto aside. About what Rizavim said regarding me. Your unique signature, when you're near me. Naruto recalled. Yes. She seemed unusually hesitant. There's something I should explain. Nekashu are naturally sensitive to life force, it's part of our senjutsu abilities. But when I'm around you, that sensitivity intensifies. What does that mean? Kuroka's golden eyes met his. It means my power grows stronger in your presence. Significantly stronger. Today, during the battle, I could sense and manipulate ki in ways I've never been able to before. Is that why Rizavim's chimeras targeted you too? Probably, she nodded. They were designed to hunt unique energy signatures. When our energies interact. She gestured vaguely, it creates something new. Different. Like what happened with Ophis and the Gap Rasengan, Naruto realized. Similar principle, different effect, Kuroka confirmed. With Ophis, your energies combine to create dimensional distortion. With me. She smiled slightly, it's more like resonance. Amplification. Is that good? Naruto asked uncertainly. For me. Very, Kuroka purred, her usual playfulness returning. For our enemies. Not so much. She leaned closer, her tails brushing against his arm. It also explains why I find your presence so stimulating. Naruto felt his face heat up. Right. Well. Good to know. Very good to know, she agreed with a mischievous smile. Get some rest, Whiskers. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. As Naruto left with Ophis to their assigned quarters, he couldn't help but reflect on how quickly his life had changed. 2 weeks ago, he'd been fighting for the fate of his world alongside his closest friends. Now he was leading supernatural strike forces, discussing dimensional physics with a dragon god, and trying to understand the flirtatious intentions of a catwoman whose powers apparently resonated with his own. Ophis, he said as they reached their rooms, do you really think there's a way for me to get home? She considered the question with her usual stoic expression. The pathways between dimensions are complex. Your arrival created disturbances that have since stabilized. Opening a new path would require significant power. Like the combined power we use today. Potentially, she nodded. But controlled, focused on a specific destination. And you'd help me do that? Even though it means losing your master. He still couldn't say the word without discomfort. Ophis tilted her head. Your desire to return home is part of who you are. To deny it would change you. You would no longer be the entity I chose. That's surprisingly understanding, Naruto said. I am learning, Ophis replied simply. From you. The idea that he was teaching something to an ancient dragon god was still mind-boggling. Well, one lesson at a time, I guess. First, let's deal with Rizavim and his dimensional anchors. Ophis nodded in agreement. Rest now. Tomorrow we hunt. As Naruto settled into bed that night, his mind buzzed with plans for the coming days. Locating the anchors. Destroying them. Confronting Rizavim. Finding a way home. Each step presented its own challenges, but for the first time since arriving in this strange world, he felt like he had a clear path forward. And strangely enough, he wasn't walking it alone. Ophis with her infinite power and evolving understanding. Kuroka with her playful demeanor hiding unexpected depth. Even Surzex and the devils, allies of convenience perhaps, but allies nonetheless. Not the friends he'd left behind, certainly, but companions who, in their own way, were beginning to matter to him. One day at a time, Naruto murmured to himself as sleep began to claim him. One fight at a time. In the darkness, he could have sworn he heard Kurama's deep chuckle of agreement. Chapter 3, Infinite Determination. Dawn broke over Surzex's mansion, casting long shadows through the windows. Naruto stood on the balcony, watching the sunrise with Kurama's chakra flickering just beneath his skin. It had been 3 days since the council meeting, 3 days of hunting Rizavim's dimensional anchors across the globe. Couldn't sleep again. Kuroka's voice came from behind him. She padded silently across the balcony, her bare feet making no sound on the marble. Too much on my mind, Naruto admitted. We've destroyed 4 anchors, but Ophis says there are at least 3 more. And Rizavim's been 1 step ahead each time, Kuroka added, coming to stand beside him. Her black tail brushed against his arm casually. Almost like he wants us to find them. Yeah, that's been bugging me too. Naruto frowned. It's too easy. The security gets tougher each time, but we still get through. Kuroka stretched, her kimono slipping slightly off one shoulder. Maybe that's the point. Maybe we're doing exactly what he wants. The thought had occurred to Naruto as well. Each anchor they destroyed released a burst of dimensional energy. Ophis claimed the energy returned to the gap, but what if some of it was being diverted elsewhere? What if Rizavim was collecting it somehow? Where's Ophis? Kuroka asked, looking around. Meditating. She says she can trace the anchors better when she's focused. Naruto turned to face her. You've been different the last few days. More serious. Kuroka's ears twitched, a tell Naruto had learned meant she was uncomfortable. Let's just say I've been doing some thinking about my life choices. Like working with the Cows Brigade? Among other things. She shrugged, trying to appear nonchalant. Don't read too much into it, Whiskers. Self-preservation is a Nekashu specialty. Before Naruto could press further, a door slid open behind them. Ophis emerged, her expression as blank as ever but with a new intensity in her eyes. I have located the next anchor, she announced. It is different from the others. Different how? Naruto asked, immediately alert. Larger. More powerful. It draws directly from the gap rather than through secondary channels. Ophis looked at Naruto. It is dangerous. Coming from the infinite dragon god, that assessment carried weight. Naruto nodded. Where is it? Beneath Kyoto. In the yokai territory. Kuroka's ears perked up. Kyoto. That's unexpected. The yokai leader, Yasaka, wouldn't allow Rizavim to operate in her territory. Unless she doesn't know, Naruto suggested. Or can't stop it. We should inform Surzex, Kuroka said, already turning toward the door. No, Ophis stated. This is a trap. Both Naruto and Kuroka stopped. You're sure? Naruto asked. Yes. The anchor pulses in a pattern. It wants to be found. Ophis's gaze remained fixed on Naruto. Rizavim seeks to draw us out specifically. Then we don't disappoint him, Naruto decided after a moment. But we go prepared. And we go alone. Alone? Kuroka raised an eyebrow. Against a trap set by Rizavim? That's either very brave or very stupid. It's neither, Naruto grinned. It's strategy. Rizavim expects a team, devils, you, me, Ophis. He'll have countermeasures for all of us. But what he doesn't know is how much stronger we've gotten working together. Over the past 3 days, the unlikely trio had developed a surprisingly effective synergy. Ophis's dimensional manipulation, Kuroka's enhanced senjutsu, and Naruto's chakra techniques complemented each other in ways that continued to surprise them all. The Gap Rasengan had been just the beginning. You're suggesting we spring his trap? Kuroka clarified, a slow smile spreading across her face. I like it. I will inform Surzex of our departure, Ophis said, but not our destination. Naruto nodded. Meet back here in 15 minutes. Bring only what you need for a fight. As they separated to prepare, Naruto retreated to his room. He settled into a meditative pose, closing his eyes to commune with Kurama. You sense it too, don't you? He asked the fox. Something big is coming. This Rizavim is clever, Kurama rumbled within his mindscape. Each anchor we've destroyed has released dimensional energy in specific patterns. He's mapping something. The pathway between worlds, Naruto realized. He's trying to chart a route to the dimensional gap. Or from it, Kurama suggested. Remember, something pushed you through to this world. What if Rizavim is working with that entity? Great Red? Naruto frowned. Ophis said they're enemies. Enemies can have aligned interests, Kurama pointed out. Be careful, Naruto. This trap may be more complex than it appears. With Kurama's warning fresh in his mind, Naruto gathered his equipment. He'd adapted his fighting style to this world, incorporating the senjutsu Kuroka taught him with his own techniques. The result was a hybrid combat form that even Ophis had called unpredictable. When he returned to the balcony, both Ophis and Kuroka were waiting. The nekashu had changed into a more practical black outfit that still managed to emphasize her figure while allowing freedom of movement. Ophis remained in her gothic Lolita dress, seemingly unconcerned with combat practicality. "Ready?" Naruto asked. "Born ready," Kuroka replied with a wink. Ophis simply nodded and created a teleportation circle beneath them. "I will bypass Kyoto's barriers. Be prepared for immediate resistance." The circle flared with dark energy, and the mansion disappeared around them. For a moment, Naruto felt the familiar disorienting sensation of teleportation, like being pulled through space itself. Then his feet touched solid ground, and he immediately dropped into a defensive stance. They'd arrived in what appeared to be an underground chamber. Ancient stone walls carved with yokai symbols surrounded them. Braziers burned with ethereal blue flame, casting dancing shadows across the expansive room. "No welcoming committee?" Kuroka whispered, her ears swiveling as she scanned for threats. "They know we're here," Naruto replied quietly. His senses, enhanced by the training with both companions, detected subtle energy fluctuations throughout the chamber. "The walls themselves are watching us." "Correct," Ophis confirmed. "This place is alive with yokai magic. Old magic." She pointed toward a massive stone door at the far end of the chamber. "The anchor lies beyond." "Too easy," Kuroka muttered. "Yeah," Naruto agreed. "Let's make it harder then." Without warning, he created a shadow clone and sent it charging toward the door. The reaction was immediate and violent. The stone floor erupted as spectral yokai emerged, foxes, tanuki, tengu, and other Japanese spirits Naruto didn't recognize. They converged on the clone, tearing it apart in seconds. "Well, that was informative," Naruto commented dryly. "Spirit guardians," Kuroka identified. "Powerful ones. They shouldn't be hostile to visitors unless..." Her golden eyes widened. "Unless the real yokai have been subjugated." "Rizavim has control of Kyoto's yokai?" Naruto asked, alarmed. "Not Rizavim," came a voice from above. "But close." They looked up to see a figure descending from the shadows of the ceiling. A man with white hair and a cruel smile, wearing an elaborate white coat adorned with magical symbols. He wasn't Rizavim, but the family resemblance was unmistakable. Euclid Lucifuge, Ophis identified him. Rizavim's right hand. "The infinite dragon god remembers me." "I'm flattered," Euclid said with a mocking bow. "And the dimensional traveler, Naruto Uzumaki. Plus a stray cat." His eyes lingered on Kuroka. "My brother-in-law would be so disappointed to see you in such company, Kuroka." "Your brother-in-law?" Naruto glanced at Kuroka. "Graphia is his sister," she explained, never taking her eyes off Euclid. "He betrayed her and the current devil government years ago." Family drama aside, Euclid continued, "You're right about one thing. This is indeed a trap. Just not the one you were expecting." He snapped his fingers, and magical circles appeared throughout the chamber. "We don't want the anchor destroyed this time. We want its energy redirected." The circles began to pulse with power, connecting to form a complex magical array that surrounded the trio. "A binding spell?" Kuroka hissed. "He's trying to contain the dimensional energy when we destroy the anchor." "Not just contain it," Euclid corrected. "Channel it. Direct it." Specifically, he pointed at Ophis, into her. "What?" Naruto looked between Euclid and Ophis. "What happens if dimensional energy from the anchors flows into Ophis?" "Ordinarily, nothing," Euclid explained, circling them like a predator. "She is the dragon of infinity, after all. The gap was her home. But these anchors don't just draw energy from the gap. They filter it through Great Red's essence." Understanding dawned on Ophis's face, the first real emotion Naruto had seen there. "Corruption," she whispered. "You seek to corrupt my power with Great Red's influence." "Corrupt is such an ugly word," Euclid smiled. We prefer enhance. Or perhaps evolve. After all, what is corruption but forced evolution? You're insane, Naruto growled. Why would you want to corrupt Ophis's power? Because pure infinite power cannot be controlled, Euclid replied as if explaining to a child. But corrupted infinity? That can be harnessed. Directed. Used. The magical array continued to grow more complex, lines of power etching themselves into the stone floor around them. We need to get out of here, Kuroka said urgently. This spell is ancient yokai magic combined with devil techniques. If it completes, it's already too late, Euclid interrupted. The array is active. The moment you attempt to destroy the anchor, all that lovely dimensional energy will flow directly into Ophis. And then. He smiled coldly, we'll see what happens when infinity is tainted. We're not destroying anything, Naruto declared. He formed a familiar hand seal. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Dozens of clones appeared throughout the chamber, immediately attacking the magical circles. But whenever one was disrupted, it simply reformed. The array is self-repairing, Euclid explained, looking amused. Anchored to the yokai spirits themselves. Unless you plan to destroy centuries-old guardians of Kyoto, you can't break it. Kuroka moved closer to Naruto. He's right about the spirits, she whispered. They're not evil, just manipulated. Destroying them would devastate Kyoto's spiritual balance. Then we need another approach, Naruto replied. He looked at Ophis. Can you teleport us out? She shook her head. The array blocks dimensional manipulation. We are contained. Precisely, Euclid nodded. The only way out is forward. Destroy the anchor, allow Ophis to absorb the corrupted energy, and then. He spread his hands, we'll see what emerges from the process. And if we refuse? Naruto challenged. Euclid's smile widened. Then I activate the anchor remotely. The energy still flows to Ophis, but without your controlled destruction, the process will be messier. More painful for her, I imagine. Naruto looked at his companions. Kuroka's expression was tense, her tails lashing anxiously behind her. Ophis remained outwardly calm, but something in her eyes had changed, a flicker of what might have been concern. There must be another option, Naruto insisted. There is, Ophis spoke suddenly. I can contain the corruption temporarily. For how long? Naruto asked. Hours. Perhaps a day. She met his gaze steadily. Long enough to find rise of him and reverse the process. You'd willingly accept corrupted power? Euclid looked genuinely surprised. Fascinating. Your connection to this human has changed you, Ophis. Not corrupted, Ophis corrected. Transformed. There is a difference. Naruto studied her for a long moment, then nodded. If you're sure. I am, she confirmed. It is the logical choice. How touching, Euclid commented. The master trusting his dragon. Rise of him will be delighted. He gestured toward the stone door. Shall we proceed? The anchor awaits. With few options, they approached the massive door. It swung open at their approach, revealing an even larger chamber beyond. In its center floated a crystalline structure twice the size of any anchor they'd previously encountered. Pulsing with malevolent energy, it hung suspended over a pool of mercurial liquid that rippled with its own inner light. The anchor, Ophis confirmed. Connected directly to the gap. And enhanced with Great Red's essence, Euclid added. A masterpiece of dimensional engineering, if I do say so myself. Naruto studied the setup, his mind racing through possibilities. The magical array extended into this chamber as well, connecting to the mercurial pool beneath the anchor. There had to be a weakness, some flaw in their plan he could exploit. When I destroy it, he said to Ophis, be ready to absorb the energy immediately. Don't let it disperse. Understood, she nodded. The corruption will be contained within me. Kuroka, Naruto turned to the Nekashu, monitor the array. If there's any change, any opportunity to disrupt it, take it. On it, she replied, her expression unusually serious. She moved to a position where she could observe the entire chamber, her senjutsu senses extended to their maximum. Euclid watched these preparations with evident amusement. Such coordination. Such trust. It's almost a shame to disrupt your little team. Naruto ignored him, focusing instead on the anchor. Unlike previous encounters, he wouldn't use the gap Rasengan, that would just channel more dimensional energy into the equation. Instead, he needed a technique that would shatter the crystal structure while minimizing the energy release. Ready? He asked Ophis. She moved to stand directly beneath the anchor, her small form dwarfed by the massive crystal. Ready. Naruto nodded and began gathering chakra. Not six paths mode, too much power. Not Kurama's chakra, too volatile. Instead, he focused on precise chakra control, forming a Rasengan that spun faster than normal, concentrated to a pinpoint. Precision Rasengan, he named it, the swirling ball of energy compressed to the size of a marble in his palm. That's it? Euclid looked disappointed. All this build-up for a tiny attack. Naruto didn't bother responding. He launched himself toward the anchor, driving the compressed Rasengan directly into a specific point he'd identified, what appeared to be a structural weak spot in the crystalline formation. The impact was almost anticlimactic. The tiny Rasengan made contact, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like breaking glass amplified 1,000-fold, the entire anchor began to fracture from within. Perfect, Euclid whispered. The anchor shattered, releasing a torrent of energy that flowed directly toward Ophis. She stood firm, arms outstretched, absorbing the corrupted dimensional power. Her small body began to glow with an inner light that shifted between black, purple, and red, colors Naruto had never seen associated with her before. Ophis. Naruto called, dropping back to the ground. I am, containing it, she replied, her voice strained. The corruption is, strong. Euclid's laughter echoed through the chamber. Wonderful. Even better than we predicted. The integration is proceeding perfectly. Kuroka appeared at Naruto's side. Something's wrong with the array, she whispered urgently. It's not just channeling energy to Ophis, it's extracting something from her too. Naruto's eyes widened. They're stealing her power while corrupting what remains. Euclid slow clapped. Very good, Uzumaki. Yes, the array works both ways. Ophis absorbs corruption while we siphon pure infinity power. The best part? His smile turned predatory. The yokai spirits powering the array are channeling that stolen power directly to Rasengan. Where is he? Naruto demanded. Closer than you think, Euclid replied cryptically. Watching. Waiting. Becoming. The flow of energy intensified, and Ophis visibly struggled. Her form seemed to flicker, the outline of her human appearance blurring at the edges. We need to disrupt the array, Naruto said to Kuroka. Without harming the spirits. I've been trying, she replied, frustration evident in her voice. The magic is too deeply integrated with their essence. Then we free them, Naruto decided. He closed his eyes, connecting with the natural energy around him, not to gather sage mode, but to understand the spiritual ecosystem of the chamber. They're being controlled through the mercurial pool, he realized. It's not just supporting the anchor, it's binding the spirits. Can you break the binding? Kuroka asked. Not alone, Naruto replied. But together? Maybe. He extended his hand to her. Understanding immediately, Kuroka placed her palm against his. Their energies began to merge, chakra and senjutsu flowing together in the way they'd practiced over the past days. What are you doing? Euclid demanded, his amusement giving way to wariness. Something you didn't account for, Naruto replied. With his free hand, he formed a modified hand seal. Yokai Purification Technique. It wasn't a real jutsu, not from his world, but a hybrid technique they developed that combined Naruto's chakra control with Kuroka's understanding of yokai energy. Golden-green light spread from their joined hands, flowing across the chamber floor toward the mercurial pool. Stop them! Euclid commanded. The spirit guardians responded, converging on Naruto and Kuroka. Keep going, Naruto urged Kuroka. I'll handle them. He created shadow clones to intercept the spirits while maintaining the energy flow with Kuroka. The clones didn't attack the yokai directly, but instead used chakra to disrupt their movement patterns, redirecting rather than damaging. Meanwhile, the purification energy reached the mercurial pool and began to spread throughout it. The liquid's color shifted from malevolent purple to clear silver, then to a pure, radiant blue. The spirits attacking them faltered, their movements becoming less coordinated. It's working, Kuroka gasped, the effort of maintaining the technique clearly straining her. The binding is weakening. Euclid's confident demeanor had vanished entirely. No, he snarled, unleashing a wave of demonic power toward them. You'll ruin everything. Naruto created another clone that took the brunt of the attack, dispelling in a puff of smoke. Keep going, he told Kuroka. We're almost there. The pool began to bubble and churn as the purification energy penetrated deeper into its magical structure. The yokai spirits stopped attacking altogether, hovering uncertainly as the compulsion controlling them weakened. One final push, Naruto said, channeling more chakra into the technique. Kuroka nodded, her face strained with concentration. Together, they sent a surge of combined energy into the pool. The mercurial liquid flashed blindingly bright, then settled into a calm, clear blue. The magical array binding them flickered and dissolved as the spirits regained their autonomy. You fool! Euclid raged. Do you have any idea what you've done? Stopped you from stealing Ophis's power, Naruto replied. And freed the yokai spirits you enslaved. But Euclid's expression wasn't one of simple defeat, there was real fear there. You've interrupted the process mid-transfer. The energies are unbalanced, unstable. He pointed at Ophis, who had fallen to her knees, still glowing with shifting colors. She can't contain it properly now. The corruption will spread faster without the controlled extraction to balance it. Naruto rushed to Ophis's side. Is that true? What's happening to you? The corruption accelerates, she confirmed, her voice distorted. Great Red's essence, fights mine. How do we stop it? Naruto demanded. You can't, Euclid laughed, though there was hysteria in it now. Once begun, the process must complete. Either Rise of him absorbs her power while she absorbs corruption, or... He gestured helplessly, boom. Boom. Kuroka repeated incredulously. You mean she'll explode? Worse, Euclid replied. A dimensional cascade failure. The barriers between worlds will rupture wherever she's present. Naruto looked at Ophis, whose form continued to fluctuate. There must be a way to stabilize you. There is, she said. Find Rise of him. Reclaim my stolen power. Restore balance. Where is he? Naruto turned to Euclid. The devil's eyes darted toward a concealed door behind the empty anchor pedestal. Gone by now, surely. He wouldn't stay once things went wrong. Liar, Kuroka hissed, her senses extended. His energy signature is still present. Faint, but there. Without waiting, Naruto charged toward the hidden door, only for Euclid to block his path. You won't reach him in time, the devil warned. And leaving Ophis in this state? The corruption will overwhelm her faster without your presence. What do you mean? Naruto demanded. Haven't you noticed? Euclid's smile returned, though strained. Your six paths energy stabilizes her. It resonates with her original power, helps her resist the corruption. Leave, and she loses that stability. Naruto hesitated, looking back at Ophis. Her eyes met his, and for the first time, he saw genuine emotion there. Fear. He speaks truth, she confirmed. Your energy helps contain the corruption. Then I stay with you, Naruto decided. Kuroka, can you track rise of him? The Nekashu nodded. I can follow the trail of Ophis's stolen power. Then go, Naruto urged. Find him. Stop him from using that power. Kuroka hesitated, looking between Naruto and the hidden door. Are you sure? This feels like another part of their trap. We don't have a choice, Naruto replied. Ophis needs me here, but rise of him needs to be stopped before he fully absorbs her power. The cat won't be enough, Euclid commented. Rise of him with even a fraction of infinity power is beyond her capabilities. Don't underestimate her, Naruto shot back. Besides, she won't be fighting alone. He formed a shadow clone, but not an ordinary one. This clone glowed with Kurama's chakra, the Nine-Tails power fully manifested. He'll go with you, Naruto told Kuroka. Between your senjutsu and his chakra, you'll have a fighting chance. Kuroka's eyes widened at the power emanating from the clone. That's impressive. Your clones can use that much power independently. Special technique, Naruto grinned despite the dire situation. Now go. We don't have much time. Kuroka moved toward the hidden door, the powered-up clone following. She paused at the threshold, looking back at Naruto with an unreadable expression. Don't die, Whiskers, she said softly. I'm just starting to like having you around. Then she was gone, the clone right behind her. Euclid laughed. How touching. The stray cat found a home. Shut up, Naruto growled, returning to Ophis's side. Now, how do I help her fight this corruption? You can't, Euclid replied, backing toward another exit. It's irreversible. I was just stalling to give rise of him more time. Liar, Ophis said, her voice stronger. There is a way. Euclid's eyes widened. No. You wouldn't dare. It would violate everything you are. What is she talking about? Naruto demanded. Ophis looked up at him, her form still fluctuating between human appearance and something more draconic. I must transfer my power to you temporarily. All of it, corrupted and pure. What? Naruto gasped. Is that even possible? For a normal human? No. They would disintegrate instantly, Euclid said, genuine fear in his voice now. But you, with your 6 paths energy and the fox entity inside you, you might survive. Briefly. It will give me time to purge the corruption, Ophis explained. Without power, I cannot be corrupted. Once cleansed, I can reclaim my power from you. And if it doesn't work? Naruto asked. Then infinity dies with us, Ophis replied simply. Euclid was backing away faster now. You're both insane. I want no part of this. You're not going anywhere, Naruto said, creating more shadow clones to surround the devil. You helped cause this problem. You'll stay until it's fixed. Trapped, Euclid could only watch as Naruto knelt before Ophis. What do I need to do? He asked her. Open yourself to my power, she instructed. As you would to the fox's chakra. Create a pathway. Naruto nodded and closed his eyes, entering his mindscape where Kurama waited. You realize what she's asking? The fox rumbled. Infinity power coursing through your chakra network. It could destroy us both. You have a better idea? Naruto asked. Kurama was silent for a moment. No, he admitted. But if we do this, we do it together. I'll help buffer the power, direct it through both our chakra systems. Thanks, partner, Naruto said with genuine gratitude. Don't thank me yet, Kurama growled. This is going to hurt. A lot. Returning to awareness of the physical world, Naruto opened his eyes. We're ready, he told Ophis. Kurama will help. The fox entity, she nodded. Good. It improves our chances. She placed her small hand against his chest. Prepare yourself. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then Naruto felt it, a trickle of power unlike anything he'd experienced before. Not hot like Kurama's chakra or electric like natural energy, but vast. Endless. As if someone had opened a door to the universe itself and it was pouring through him. The trickle became a stream, then a flood. Naruto gasped as infinity power coursed through his chakra network. Colors he had no names for flashed behind his eyes. Concepts no human mind was meant to comprehend flickered through his consciousness. Too much, he choked out. Focus, Ophis commanded, her voice strained. Direct it with the fox. Channel it through your seal points. Naruto concentrated, working with Kurama to route the overwhelming power through their combined chakra systems. Gradually, they established a pattern, a rhythm that kept the infinity power flowing without overwhelming them completely. The corruption, Naruto gasped. I can feel it. Like oil in water, something foreign moved within the infinity power, dark, twisted energy that fought against the natural flow. Great Red's essence, forced to mingle with Ophis's power in ways that violated the natural order. Contain it, Ophis instructed. Separate it from the pure power. Easier said than done. Naruto struggled to distinguish between the energies, both so alien to his human understanding. Beside him, Ophis's form was changing, shrinking, simplifying, until she appeared as nothing more than a young girl in a simple black dress, all her draconic features gone. It's working, Euclid whispered, watching in fascination. She's purging herself completely. The final surge of power hit Naruto like a physical blow. He cried out as infinity itself seemed to collapse into his body. His skin cracked with golden light, his eyes transformed to swirling galaxies, and 6 wings of pure energy erupted from his back, not angel wings or devil wings, but manifestations of dimensional force. Hold it, Ophis said, her voice now that of a normal child. Just a little longer. Inside his mindscape, Naruto and Kurama worked frantically to contain the power threatening to tear them apart. They separated the corruption, isolating Great Red's essence into a single channel while directing Ophis's pure infinity power through the rest of Naruto's chakra network. Almost, Naruto gasped, his voice distorted by the power surging through him. Now, Ophis said, placing both hands on his chest. Release the corruption. Only the corruption. Focusing with everything he had, Naruto pushed the isolated energy, that dark, twisted essence, back toward Ophis. But instead of absorbing it, she began to unmake it, breaking it down into its component parts and dispersing it harmlessly into the environment. What's she doing? Euclid demanded, edging closer despite himself. Purification, Naruto managed to say through gritted teeth. She's purifying Great Red's essence. Impossible, Euclid breathed. Once energies are mixed at that level. Nothing is impossible, Ophis replied, continuing her work. Only improbable. The process seemed to take hours, though in reality only minutes passed. Gradually, the corruption separated fully from Naruto's system, purified and dispersed by Ophis's technique. What remained was pure infinity power, vast beyond comprehension but no longer fighting against itself. The corruption is gone, Ophis announced. Now I must reclaim my power. Wait, Naruto said, his voice echoing strangely with the infinity power still coursing through him. Not all of it. Not yet. Ophis tilted her head questioningly. Rizavim has some of your power, Naruto reminded her. We need to stop him first. If I return all your power now, you'll still be weakened overall. You suggest, retaining my power temporarily? Ophis asked, her expression unreadable. Just enough to confront Rizavim, Naruto clarified. Combined with your knowledge and my techniques, we might have an advantage he won't expect. Ophis considered this, then nodded. Logical. I will reclaim only what I need to maintain my existence. The rest you may wield against Rizavim. She placed her hands on Naruto's chest again, this time drawing power back into herself. Naruto felt the infinite ocean within him recede, not completely, but substantially. What remained was still more power than he'd ever wielded, but manageable with Kurama's help. As Ophis absorbed her power, her form shifted again, not back to her previous appearance, but to something between human and dragon. Her eyes regained their draconic quality, and a subtle aura of power surrounded her once more. It is done, she announced. You hold approximately 30% of my total power. Enough to challenge Rizavim, especially combined with your own abilities. Naruto stood, testing his new state. The 6 energy wings remained, though smaller now. His skin still cracked with golden light in patterns that resembled circuits, and his eyes retained that strange, cosmic quality. But he felt in control, the power responding to his will rather than threatening to overwhelm him. How do you feel? Ophis asked. Weird, Naruto admitted. Like I could see forever if I wanted to. Like distance doesn't really exist. That is the nature of infinity, she nodded. Space and time are suggestions rather than limitations. Euclid, who had been watching this exchange with increasing alarm, finally broke his silence. This was never part of the plan. Rizavim will destroy you both for this. Not if we destroy him first, Naruto replied, turning his cosmic gaze on the devil. Where exactly is he? Euclid swallowed hard. The central chamber. Beneath Kyoto's spiritual nexus. That's where the extracted power was being channeled. And Kuroka? Naruto pressed. My clone. Will they find him? Eventually, Euclid nodded. But he'll be ready for them. Then we'd better move fast, Naruto decided. He looked at Ophis. Can you teleport us directly there? With this power sharing, can we bypass the barriers? Yes, she confirmed. Our combined signature will pass through their defenses. Good. Naruto created several shadow clones, each exhibiting the same energy wings and golden circuit patterns, and positioned them around Euclid. You're coming with us. Insurance. This is a mistake, Euclid warned. You don't understand what Rizavim is capable of. And he doesn't understand what we're capable of, Naruto countered. That's the point. Ophis created a teleportation circle beneath them, different from her usual ones, glowing with a mixture of her remaining power and the infinity energy Naruto now carried. Prepare yourself, she warned. Rizavim will not surrender without significant resistance. I'm counting on it, Naruto replied grimly. As the circle activated, he added, let's go save our cat friend. The teleportation deposited them into chaos. The central chamber, a massive circular room with a domed ceiling painted with yokai mythology, was in the midst of a battle. Kuroka and Naruto's chakra-enhanced clone were engaged with dozens of devils and what appeared to be enhanced chimeras. At the center of the room, on a raised dais, stood Rizavim. But he wasn't the same Rizavim they'd confronted before. Power radiated from him in visible waves, his form slightly distorted as if reality couldn't quite contain him. In his hand, he held a crystalline orb that pulsed with familiar energy, Ophis's stolen power. Naruto. Kuroka called out, spotting them. She looked battered but determined, fighting back-to-back with the clone. Right on time, Rizavim smiled, though his eyes widened at Naruto's transformed appearance. And with such an interesting new look. Euclid, I assume the plan went awry. You could say that, Naruto answered before Euclid could speak. Ophis transferred her power to me instead. Fascinating, Rizavim mused, studying Naruto with new interest. A human vessel for dragon infinity power. Unprecedented. His gaze shifted to Ophis. And you, my dear Ouroboros, looking rather diminished. Was the corruption too much to handle? The corruption is gone, Ophis replied calmly. Purified. That news did appear to surprise Ryzavim. Impossible. Great Red's essence cannot be separated once integrated. You underestimate Naruto's abilities, Ophis stated. And mine. Ryzavim's facade of amusement cracked slightly. Well, this does complicate matters. He held up the crystalline orb. I've only managed to absorb a fraction of the power this contains. The process is challenging. Give it back, Naruto demanded, stepping forward. And we might let you walk away. Laughter erupted from Ryzavim, genuine, if slightly maniacal. Let me walk away. Oh, my dimensional friend, you still don't understand the situation. He gestured around the chamber. This isn't just about Ophis's power. This is about rewriting reality itself. For the first time, Naruto noticed the intricate magical array carved into the floor of the entire chamber, similar to the one from before, but vastly more complex. It connected to the dais where Ryzavim stood and extended upward along the walls to the painted dome. What is this? Naruto demanded. The culmination of centuries of planning, Ryzavim replied proudly. A dimensional resonance chamber. With Ophis's power as the catalyst, I can tear open a permanent gateway to the dimensional gap. Why? Naruto asked, genuinely confused. What do you gain from that? Access, Ryzavim said simply. To everything. Every world, every reality, every timeline. His eyes gleamed with fanatical light. Infinite worlds to rule. Infinite civilizations to subjugate. Infinite amusement. You're insane, Naruto stated flatly. Visionary, Ryzavim corrected. And very, very close to success. He raised the orb higher. Even this small portion of Ophis's power, properly channeled through this chamber, will be enough to begin the process. Kuroka, Naruto called out, never taking his eyes off Ryzavim, get to the clone and fall back to us. The Nekisha nodded, disengaging from her current opponents to make her way toward Naruto. The clone provided cover, unleashing a tailed beast bomb that cleared a path through the enemies. Impressive pet, Ryzavim commented, watching the clone's display of power. But ultimately futile. He snapped his fingers, and the remaining devils and chimeras formed a protective ring around the dais. As Kuroka reached them, her eyes widened at Naruto's transformation. What happened to you, Whiskers? Power-sharing arrangement with Ophis, Naruto explained briefly. Temporary. It suits you, she commented, a slight smile playing on her lips despite the situation. Then, more seriously, Ryzavim's been absorbing power from that orb since I arrived. He gets stronger by the minute. Then we don't give him any more minutes, Naruto decided. He looked at his companions. Plan. Direct assault, Ophis suggested. Combined attack on the orb. Too risky, Kuroka countered. That orb is unstable. A direct hit might release all the power at once, right into his ready-made array. What about the array itself? Naruto asked. Can we disrupt it like the last one? Kuroka shook her head. Different design. This one isn't powered by yokai spirits. It's drawing energy directly from Kyoto's ley lines. Then we go for Ryzavim himself, Naruto decided. Separate him from the orb. How touching, Ryzavim called out, apparently overhearing their strategy session. Working together to stop the big bad devil. But you're forgetting something crucial. His smile widened. I'm not alone either. The dome above them cracked, and a massive form descended through it, a dragon, but unlike any Naruto had seen before. Its scales shifted between metallic silver and deep crimson, and its eyes glowed with malevolent intelligence. Tanin. Kuroka gasped. But he's aligned with the current devil government. Not Tanin, Ophis corrected grimly. A copy. Created from Great Red's essence. A prototype, Rise of him confirmed cheerfully. A taste of what's possible when dimensional energy is properly harnessed. Say hello to Fake Tannin, the first of my dragon army. The dragon roared, unleashing a blast of fire that forced them to scatter. Naruto dodged left, Kuroka right, while Ophis simply stood her ground, the flames parting around her diminished but still impressive aura. I'll handle the dragon, Naruto's clone called out, leaping forward to engage the massive beast. You three focus on Rise of him. Euclid, Rise of him called to his lieutenant, who still stood surrounded by Naruto's standard shadow clones, if you would be so kind as to actually help. With a sudden burst of power, Euclid broke free from his captors, dispelling several clones in the process. Apologies for the delay, he said, moving to join his master. Our friends brought some unexpected modifications to our plan. So I see, Rise of him replied, eyeing Naruto's transformed state. No matter. We adapt. The chamber descended into chaotic battle. Naruto's powered-up clone engaged the false dragon, matching its fire breath with tailed beast chakra blasts. Euclid faced off against Kuroka, their magical attacks lighting up the air between them. And Naruto, with Ophis at his side, began fighting through the protective ring of devils and chimeras toward Rise of him. You've never used infinity power before, Ophis commented as they advanced. Do not try to control it completely. Guide it, suggest directions, but let it flow. Like Senjutsu, Naruto nodded, remembering Kuroka's lessons. He extended his hand, not forcing the power but inviting it to manifest. One of his energy wings extended in response, lashing out like a whip to cut through three devils at once. Yes, Ophis confirmed. You learn quickly. Together, they carved a path toward the dais. Naruto combined the infinity power with his own techniques, creating hybrid attacks that overwhelmed their opponents. Shadow clones wreathed in dimensional energy. Razengans that distorted space itself. Truth-seeking orbs that had evolved into what Ophis called, infinity spheres, orbs of compressed dimensional force that annihilated anything they touched. This power, Naruto gasped between attacks, it's addictive. Yes, Ophis agreed. That is the danger. Do not lose yourself to it. Meanwhile, Kuroka was holding her own against Euclid, her senjutsu proving surprisingly effective against his devil magic. She moved with feline grace, evading his attacks while countering with precisely targeted key strikes. You've improved, Euclid acknowledged after a particularly close exchange. Your time with Uzumaki has been beneficial. You have no idea, Kuroka replied with a feral smile. Her eyes flashed, and suddenly her senjutsu manifested visibly, two massive spectral cat forms flanking her. Let me show you what I've learned. The spectral Nikomata surged forward, phasing through Euclid's magical barriers to strike at his physical body. He cried out in pain as their claws left no physical marks but clearly damaged something more fundamental. Soul claws, Kuroka explained, advancing. A technique I could never quite master before. Turns out, all I needed was the right energy catalyst. Her golden eyes flicked meaningfully toward Naruto. Across the chamber, the powered-up clone was gradually gaining the upper hand against Fake Tannin. Though massive and powerful, the dragon copy lacked the tactical intelligence of a real dragon, relying on brute force where cunning was needed. You're just a pale imitation, the clone taunted, forming a massive raisin shuriken between its hands. Let me show you what real power looks like. The technique launched, connecting with the dragon's chest and expanding into a vortex of slicing wind chakra. Fake Tannin roared in pain as the attack cut through its scales, revealing an interior that wasn't flesh and blood but swirling dimensional energy, the same corrupted essence they'd purged from Ophis. Guys, the clone called out. These copies are made from the corrupted power. They're like dimensional constructs. That information gave Naruto an idea. He paused in his advance, turning to Ophis. If they're made from corrupted dimensional energy, can we purify them like we did with you? Ophis considered this. Possible. But it would require direct contact with the core of the construct. I can get us that contact, Naruto decided. He created more shadow clones, each sharing a portion of his borrowed infinity power. Distraction pattern Sigma. The clones spread out, attacking from multiple angles to confuse the remaining defenders. Meanwhile, Naruto focused on the infinity power within him, not just letting it flow but actively shaping it. His 6 energy wings extended, then merged into a single massive construct that resembled a hand. Wow, Kuroka commented, momentarily distracted from her battle with Euclid. That's new. Infinity projection, Ophis identified the technique. Impressive adaptation. Naruto directed the energy hand toward fake Tanin, grasping the dragon around its torso where the Raisin Shuriken had exposed its core. The construct roared and thrashed but couldn't break free from the dimensional grip. Now, Ophis. Naruto called. The dragon god placed her hand on Naruto's shoulder, channeling her purification technique through him and into the projection. The energy hand glowed with purifying light, which spread into fake Tanin's exposed core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the dragon stiffened, its form becoming translucent as the corrupted energy comprising it was systematically purified. With a final, almost relieved roar, the construct dissolved into particles of pure light that dispersed throughout the chamber. No! Rizavim shouted, genuine alarm in his voice. Do you have any idea how much power went into creating that? One down, Naruto called back. You're next. With renewed determination, he and Ophis resumed their advance toward the dais. But Rizavim wasn't waiting passively. He raised the crystalline orb, which pulsed with ominous light. Enough games, the devil declared. If I can't have a perfect gateway, I'll settle for an imperfect one. He slammed the orb down onto the central point of the array. The chamber shuddered as power surged through the magical circuits carved into the floor and walls. The painted dome began to crack further, not from physical stress but from dimensional pressure as reality itself strained under Rizavim's assault. He's forcing the gateway open. Kuroka shouted, disengaging from Euclid to race toward the dais. Too late, kitty cat, Rizavim laughed. The process has begun. Above them, the dome split completely, revealing not the sky but a swirling void of colors and patterns that hurt the human mind to observe directly, a tear leading straight to the dimensional gap. Great Red will notice this intrusion, Ophis warned, her voice raised above the growing dimensional distortion. He will come. Let him come. Rizavim shouted, spreading his arms as power continued to flow from the orb into the array. I'll have enough of your power absorbed by then to challenge even the Apocalypse Dragon. The tear widened, and through it, Naruto caught glimpses of something vast moving in the chaotic void beyond, a presence so enormous it defied comprehension. We need to close that tear, he decided. Before whatever's coming makes it through. Great Red approaches, Ophis confirmed, her expression uncharacteristically concerned. If he enters this realm fully, the destruction will be extensive. How do we close it? Kuroka asked, rejoining them. The orb, Ophis pointed. It anchors the gateway. Remove it from the array, and the tier will collapse. On it, Naruto said, preparing to charge the dais. But Rizavim anticipated this move. Euclid, he commanded. The final phase. His lieutenant nodded and activated a secondary array hidden within the main one. Suddenly, the devils and chimeras still in the chamber began to dissolve, their essences flowing into Rizavim and the orb. A sacrifice circle, Kuroka gasped. He's converting them into raw power. Rizavim's form grew more distorted as he absorbed the sacrificial energy. The orb in his hand pulsed faster, its light now blinding. Just a little more, he muttered, just a little more power. Now or never, Naruto decided. He looked at his companions. Combined attack. Everything we've got. Ophis nodded. Kuroka moved to Naruto's other side, her senjutsu flaring around her. The powered-up clone joined them, creating a line of 4 facing the dais. Infinity Convergence, Ophis named the technique they were about to attempt. I like the sound of that, Naruto grinned despite the dire situation. Together, they began to gather their respective energies, Naruto's borrowed infinity power and his own six paths chakra, Ophis's remaining dragon power, Kuroka's senjutsu, and the clone's tailed beast chakra. The energies swirled together, creating a vortex of power before them that contained elements of them all. Impossible, Euclid whispered, watching the display. Those energies should destroy each other, not combine. Nothing's impossible, Naruto replied, echoing Ophis's earlier words. Only improbable. With a final surge of shared will, they launched the combined attack. The vortex of energy shot forward like a comet, leaving a trail of distorted space in its wake. It struck the dais with the force of a meteor, engulfing Rhizavim, Euclid, and the orb in an explosion of dimensional energy. For a moment, the chamber was filled with blinding light. When it faded, the dais was shattered, the array disrupted. Euclid lay unconscious amid the rubble. But Rhizavim still stood, though badly injured, clutching the orb which now showed cracks across its surface. So close, he gasped, blood running from his mouth. So very close. Above them, the tear to the dimensional gap was beginning to shrink, but not fast enough. Something was definitely coming through, a massive eye was visible now, peering into their reality with curious malevolence. Great Red sees us, Ophis stated. He comes. We need to get that orb, Naruto said, preparing for another attack. But before they could move, Rhizavim did something unexpected. He crushed the cracked orb in his hand. If I can't have this power, he snarled, no one will. The compressed infinity power, released suddenly and violently, exploded outward in a wave of pure dimensional force. It caught them all, sending Naruto, Ophis, Kuroka, and the clone flying backward. The chamber walls cracked further under the strain. When Naruto regained his footing, he saw something that chilled him despite his borrowed power. Rhizavim, standing at the center of the shattered dais, was absorbing the released energy directly into his body. His form shifted and warped, growing both more draconic and more demonic simultaneously. Yes, the devil hissed, his voice distorted. Yes. That fool, Ophis whispered. Uncontained infinity power will destroy him from within. But Rhizavim didn't appear to be dying. Instead, he was transforming, his body adapting to the influx of power in horrific ways. Wings erupted from his back, not energy wings like Naruto's, but physical manifestations of both dragon and devil anatomy fused together. He's becoming a hybrid, Kuroka realized. Part devil, part dragon, part something else. The tier above continued to shrink, but Great Red's massive eye remained fixed on the chamber, watching the proceedings with evident interest. We need to end this now, Naruto decided. He turned to Ophis. I need to return your power. All of it. It's the only way we can stop him. If you release all that power at once, the backlash could kill you, Kuroka objected. Not if we do it right, Naruto replied. He looked at Ophis. You said our energies are compatible. That's why this worked in the first place. If we synchronize the transfer. It may succeed, Ophis nodded. But you will need an anchor of your own to prevent being pulled into the gap during the process. I'll anchor him, Kuroka volunteered immediately. She moved closer to Naruto, placing her hands on his shoulders. My senjutsu can root us to this reality. Naruto nodded gratefully, then turned to his clone. Keep Rhizavim busy. Don't try to win, just distract him. On it, boss, the clone acknowledged, charging toward the transforming devil. As the clone engaged Rhizavim in battle, unleashing a barrage of tailed beast attacks that forced the devil to defend rather than complete his transformation, Naruto, Ophis, and Kuroka formed a triangle. Kuroka behind Naruto, maintaining physical contact, and Ophis facing him, her hands extended. Begin the release, Ophis instructed. Gradually at first, then all at once when I signal. Naruto nodded and closed his eyes, connecting with the vast ocean of infinity power he'd been containing. With careful mental discipline, he began to let it flow toward Ophis, a controlled stream rather than a flood. Ophis received the power, her form growing more substantial with each passing moment. The draconic aspects of her appearance returned, a subtle scaling pattern on her skin, her eyes growing more reptilian, her aura expanding. Behind Naruto, Kuroka strained to maintain their anchor. Her senjutsu manifested visibly as roots of pure energy extending from her body into the floor, keeping them grounded against the dimensional forces swirling around them. The connection is established, Ophis announced. Now, release everything. Naruto took a deep breath and let go. The infinity power surged from him like a dam breaking, rushing back to its original owner in a torrent of dimensional energy. His body convulsed with the sudden release, the circuit patterns on his skin flaring brilliantly before fading. Kuroka held him steady, her own power straining to the limit. "Stay with me, Whiskers," she urged. "Don't you dare die now." The transfer completed in a final flash of light. Naruto slumped backward into Kuroka's arms, drained but alive. His six paths energy flickered weakly, but Kurama's chakra surged to compensate, helping stabilize his condition. Before them stood Ophis, fully restored. No longer the small gothic Lolita figure, she had assumed a form that better reflected her true nature, a young woman with draconic features, wrapped in an aura of infinite darkness that somehow emitted light. "I am restored," she declared, her voice resonating with power. Across the chamber, Naruto's clone and Rizavim both paused in their battle, sensing the shift in power. Rizavim, half transformed into his hybrid state, looked up with dawning horror. "No," he whispered. "I was so close." "Your ambition exceeded your understanding," Ophis stated, advancing toward him. "A common failing among lesser beings." Rizavim snarled and unleashed a blast of corrupted power, the last of what he'd managed to absorb before Naruto and Ophis purified the rest. The attack struck Ophis directly, but simply dissipated against her restored infinity aura. "My turn," she said calmly. What followed wasn't so much an attack as an assertion of fundamental reality. Ophis didn't move, didn't gesture, didn't speak further. She simply existed, with such definition and clarity that Rizavim's corrupted, hybrid state couldn't maintain itself in her presence. The devil screamed as his stolen power was systematically unmade. The draconic elements of his transformation dissolved first, followed by the dimensional aspects, until only the devil remained, wounded, diminished, but alive. "Impossible," he gasped, falling to his knees. "I had it. I had infinity within my grasp." "No," Ophis replied. "You had a shadow. A reflection. True infinity cannot be stolen or contained." She glanced at Naruto. "Only shared, willingly, with one who understands its nature." Above them, the tier to the dimensional gap had shrunk to a small rift, but Great Red's eye remained, watching the proceedings with what almost seemed like amusement. "You've lost, Rizavim," Naruto said, struggling to his feet with Kuroka's help. "It's over." The devil's face contorted with rage and desperation. "It's never over." He reached into his coat and withdrew a small device, a trigger of some kind. "If I can't rule infinite worlds, I'll at least have the satisfaction of destroying this one." "Secondary array," Euclid called out weakly from where he lay amid the rubble. "Self-destruct sequence, will collapse the ley lines beneath Kyoto. The backlash will destroy everything within a 100-mile radius," Rizavim finished with a maniacal grin. "Including all of you." His finger moved to press the trigger. Time seemed to slow for Naruto. His body was drained, his chakra reserves depleted from containing and then releasing infinity power. He couldn't reach Rizavim in time. None of them could. But there was one option left. "Kurama," he whispered. "Everything we've got." "On it, partner," the fox replied, flooding Naruto's system with the last of their combined chakra. In a burst of orange energy, Naruto vanished from Kuroka's supporting arms and reappeared directly in front of Rizavim, a body flicker technique pushed to its absolute limit. His hand closed around the trigger just as the devil's finger made contact. Too late, Rise of him hissed. The device activated, sending a surge of destructive energy into the chamber floor. The remaining magical circuits flared to life, channeling the energy downward toward Kyoto's ley lines. But before the connection could complete, something unexpected happened. The small tear to the dimensional gap, which had been steadily closing, suddenly expanded again. Great Red's massive eye blinked once, and reality hiccuped. There was no other word for it. The space around them seemed to stutter, skip, and reset. The destructive energy Rise of him had unleashed was suddenly gone, the magical circuits dead and inert. What? Rise of him stared in confusion. What did you do? Not me, Naruto replied, equally surprised. Ophis looked up at the tier, where Great Red's eye was now joined by part of an enormous draconic muzzle. He is curious, she said, sounding almost as confused as the others. Great Red has never interfered directly before. The dimensional dragon seemed to study them for a moment longer, then made a sound that resembled nothing so much as a cosmic chuckle. The tier began to close again, but not before a tendril of pure, red energy snaked down into the chamber. It touched each of them in turn, Naruto, Ophis, Kuroka, even Rise of him and Euclid. Where it touched, it left a mark, a small sigil that glowed briefly before fading into their skin. What was that? Kuroka demanded, rubbing her arm where the sigil had appeared. Recognition, Ophis replied, staring at her own mark. Great Red has acknowledged us. Is that good or bad? Naruto asked. Unknown, Ophis admitted. In all my existence, he has never done this before. Rise of him, meanwhile, had collapsed fully to the ground, his plans in ruins, his power spent. Kill me and be done with it, he spat. I won't live with this failure. Naruto looked at the defeated devil, then at his companions. That's not for me to decide, he said finally. This is Surzex's world, his jurisdiction. As if summoned by his name, a massive devil teleportation circle appeared in the center of the ruined chamber. Surzex stepped through, accompanied by several other high-ranking devils and a contingent of guards. We felt the dimensional disturbance from across the underworld, he explained, surveying the destruction with evident concern. What happened here? The short version. Naruto sighed, suddenly feeling the full extent of his exhaustion. Rise of him tried to open a permanent gateway to the dimensional gap. We stopped him. Great Red showed up and did something weird. Surzex's eyes widened at the mention of Great Red. The Apocalypse Dragon manifested? Here. Partially, Ophis confirmed. He was interested in our conflict. The devil leader's gaze moved to Rise of him and Euclid, both now secured by his guards. And these two? Defeated, Naruto stated simply. Their plan failed. Surzex nodded, then looked more carefully at Naruto. You look different. Drained. Long story, Naruto replied with a weak smile. Involved temporarily holding Ophis's power. Wouldn't recommend it. You, what? Surzex looked genuinely shocked for the first time since Naruto had met him. As I said, long story. The aftermath proceeded with surprising efficiency. Rise of him and Euclid were taken into custody, magical restraints preventing any last-ditch escape attempts. The yokai leaders of Kyoto were contacted and informed of the situation. Repair teams began assessing the damage to the underground chamber and the ley lines beneath it. Through it all, Naruto found himself growing increasingly quiet and introspective. The battle was over, Rise of him defeated, the immediate threat neutralized. But something had changed, something fundamental. As the devils and yokai representatives discussed reconstruction plans, Naruto slipped away to a quiet corner of the ruined chamber. He sat with his back against one of the few intact walls, closing his eyes to center himself. You okay, Whiskers? Kuroka's voice came softly as she settled beside him. Just processing, he replied without opening his eyes. It's been a long day. Understatement of the century, she chuckled, though her tone remained concerned. Holding infinity power, fighting a super devil, getting noticed by Great Red himself, most beings would be having a complete breakdown by now. Naruto smiled slightly. Where I'm from, this is Tuesday. Now you're just showing off, she teased, but then grew serious. Something's bothering you, though. I can tell. He opened his eyes, looking at her directly. When I held Ophis's power, I saw things. Felt things. Including. He hesitated, a path home. Kuroka's ears flattened slightly against her head. Oh. For a brief moment, I could sense my world. My friends. They're still there, still fighting. Naruto looked down at his hands. I could have opened a doorway if I'd known how to control the power properly. So now you know it's possible, Kuroka said carefully. You can find your way back. Maybe, Naruto nodded. But there's a catch. Before he could elaborate, Ophis approached them. She had reverted to her preferred gothic Lolita appearance, though something about her seemed more substantial, more present than before. You sense the dilemma, she stated, looking at Naruto. Yeah, he sighed. Opening a path home would create the same kind of tear Rizavin was trying to make. On a smaller scale, but still dangerous. The barriers between worlds are not meant to be breached carelessly, Ophis confirmed. Great Red maintains these boundaries for a reason. So I'm stuck here? Naruto asked, a hint of desperation creeping into his voice. Not necessarily, Ophis replied. But return would require permission. From Great Red? Kuroka asked incredulously. The dragon who never speaks to anyone. Perhaps, Ophis nodded. Or perhaps another solution will present itself. She touched the spot on her arm where Great Red's energy had marked her. His interest in us was unusual. Unprecedented. Naruto absorbed this information silently. After a moment, he stood, determination returning to his expression. Then we'll figure it out. If there's a way home, I'll find it. He looked at his companions. With help. Of course, Kuroka agreed immediately, relief evident in her voice. Not getting rid of us that easily. I am still your partner in this endeavor, Ophis confirmed. As you were mine. The conversation was interrupted as Surzex approached. Naruto, he called. A moment of your time. Naruto excused himself and joined the devil leader near the center of the chamber. What's up? The yokai leaders have arrived, Surzex explained. They wish to meet the one who helped prevent the destruction of their territory. Just doing what needed to be done, Naruto shrugged. Nevertheless, your actions today, and indeed, since your arrival in our world, have not gone unnoticed. Surzex's expression was solemn but warm. The devil government, in consultation with the yokai leadership, wishes to extend an official offer. What kind of offer? Naruto asked cautiously. Recognition, Surzex replied. Formal acknowledgement of your status as an independent power within our world. With all the protections and responsibilities that entails. Naruto blinked in surprise. You're offering me, what, exactly? Citizenship? Something more significant, Surzex smiled slightly. Think of it as diplomatic recognition. Your own territory if you wish it. Access to our libraries and resources. Freedom to move between factions without suspicion. Why would you offer this? Naruto asked, genuinely confused. I'm still trying to find a way home. Perhaps, Surzex nodded. But until then, or if that proves impossible, you remain here. And after today's events, your power and influence cannot be ignored. He gestured to where Ophis stood watching them. The infinite dragon god acknowledges you as her partner. Great Red himself has marked you. These are not insignificant details in our world. Naruto considered the offer carefully. And what would be expected of me in return? Non-interference in faction politics unless invited. Adherence to the basic treaties maintaining peace between supernatural groups. And, Surzex added with a slight smile, occasional assistance with threats beyond our normal capabilities. Like Rizavim, Naruto surmised. Precisely, Surzex confirmed. Consider it a formalization of our current arrangement, with additional benefits and protections. Naruto was silent for a moment, weighing the implications. This wasn't just an offer of status, it was acknowledgement that his presence in this world mattered. That he had become, whether he intended to or not, a player in its complex supernatural ecosystem. I need time to think about it, he finally said. Of course, Surzex nodded. The offer remains open. He glanced toward Kuroka and Ophis. I should mention that the offer extends to your companions as well. Particularly Kuroka, whose status as a stray devil could be formally pardoned. That detail caught Naruto's attention. She wouldn't be hunted anymore. Not by devil authorities, no, Surzex confirmed. Her past actions would be officially forgiven in recognition of her role today. With that additional information, Naruto returned to his companions and explained the offer. Kuroka's eyes widened at the mention of a pardon. He's serious? She asked, ears perked forward in surprise. A full pardon? That's what he said, Naruto confirmed. No more running, no more hiding. For once, Kuroka's playful demeanor fell away completely, revealing genuine emotion beneath. I never thought. She began, then stopped, collecting herself. That would change everything for me. What do you think, Ophis? Naruto asked the dragon god. Such recognition is meaningless to me, she replied. But it would provide you with necessary structure while we continue our mutual goals. Which include finding me a way home, Naruto emphasized. Yes, Ophis nodded. Though I find your continued fixation on returning somewhat puzzling. Puzzling? Naruto frowned. My friends are there. My village. My promises. Yet you have formed new connections here, Ophis observed, glancing meaningfully at Kuroka. New purposes. That doesn't mean I abandon my old ones, Naruto insisted. No, Ophis agreed. But it may mean your path is more complex than a simple return. Before Naruto could argue further, Kuroka placed a gentle hand on his arm. No one's saying you have to choose right now, Whiskers. Or ever, maybe. Her golden eyes met his. Maybe there's a way to have both worlds. Both? Naruto repeated skeptically. Why not? She shrugged. You've already done the impossible several times since I met you. What's one more miracle? Despite everything, Naruto found himself smiling at her optimism. When you put it that way. Their conversation was interrupted as repair crews began more intensive work on the chamber, requiring them to move elsewhere. Surzex offered teleportation back to his mansion, which they accepted gratefully. Hours later, as night fell over the Devil Realm, Naruto stood on the same balcony where the day had begun. So much had changed in such a short time. He had held infinity itself within his body. Fought alongside a dragon god and a Nekashu against a power-mad devil. Been noticed by the Apocalypse Dragon. Been offered formal recognition in this strange world. And yet, his core dilemma remained. Home versus here. Past versus present. Old bonds versus new ones. Can't sleep again. Kuroka's voice came from behind him, echoing their conversation from that morning. Too much on my mind, he replied, turning to face her. She joined him at the railing, her kimono catching the moonlight. Want to talk about it? I don't know what to say, he admitted. Every instinct I have says I need to find a way home. My friends need me. But there are people who need you here too, she finished softly. Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. Naruto had known Kuroka for only a short time, but in the intensity of their shared experiences, a connection had formed that couldn't be denied. "I don't have the answers," he said finally. "But I know running away isn't my style. Whatever happens next, whatever path opens up, I'll face it head-on." Kuroka smiled, a genuine expression without her usual teasing edge. "That's what I like about you, Whiskers. Always moving forward." She leaned closer. "For what it's worth, I hope you find a way to have everything you want. You deserve it." "We all do," Naruto replied, surprising himself with the inclusion. But it felt right. Whatever happened next, these companions, Kuroka with her playful wisdom, Ophis with her evolving perspective, had become important to him. The future remained uncertain. The path home unclear. But as Naruto stood under the stars of this strange world, with a Catwoman at his side and a dragon god meditating somewhere nearby, he found himself oddly at peace with the uncertainty. One step at a time. One day at a time. One fight at a time. The ninja way. His way. And for now, that was enough. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.